Peace, peace. All right, get situated here. Get going shortly. Let's get everything lined up. Okay, that's good. Back that up. Give me a little space. All right, so we're just going to wait a minute. Just let some people come in, and then we will go ahead and get rolling shortly. All right. Let's see what we got. All right. All right. We're going to start shortly. Just wait for some people to come in, then we're going to get going. All right. Peace, Brother Doomer. Peace, Brother Matthew. All right. We're going to get started soon. Just waiting for some people to come in. All right. So what I will do, as I usually do in the beginning, real briefly, just go over a couple quick announcements while we wait for people to kind of filter in. So we do have the event set for the end of this month, which will be Friday, November 30th. December, we're going to take a break and then reconvene in January. So the final ritual that we will be doing for this year will be the Black Mass and Eternal Word of Set ritual, which will be actually combining two different workings in the same working. The Black Mass that will be performed of Set, again, is a Black Mass that I wrote with the help of some other people here. Peace, Sister Amy. Good to see you. You've been AWOL. Good to see you still here. So that'll take place on Friday, November 30th. We will perform all 19 parts of that Eternal Word of Set, in addition to performing the Black Mass that we wrote. And that'll take place again Friday evening, November 30th, 8 o'clock. The flyer will be done for that within the next day or two. It's just been real busy. Haven't had a chance to put that together. But should have it, what's today, Tuesday, hopefully by Thursday or Friday, maybe even possibly tomorrow, but more likely Thursday, Friday. So if you are interested in attending the Black Mass and Eternal Word of Set ritual, that will take place again Friday evening, November 30th, here in Fort Lauderdale. You could email me for an invite. Obviously, as you know, the rituals are by invite only. Just want to make that clear. And I know some people have asked, why do we do it like that? And again, to briefly explain, because in the past, we've had people just randomly show up when we put the information out there. We're not looking for that. We're not interested in random people showing up. We're looking to get, good quality people, keep the vibe correct. So what we basically do with the invite, after you request the invite, I briefly have a brief conversation with you just to see kind of where you're at, to make sure it's a good fit for everybody. So it's kind of just to keep the energy right and just to prevent, people randomly show up. We used to have that problem in the beginning. So we have it a little, more organized and better structured now. So you can request a invite by the email you see in the description box of all the videos, which is, actually, I will type it in just so you can have it on the screen. This is the email where you can request the invite. Just put that up there. You could also, to the same email that I just put in, and also, again, that email is in the description box of all my videos. If you would like to contact me, also, two other things, obviously spiritual readings or a spiritual consultation. If you're interested in booking one of those, you can email me at the same email address. And again, that can be done. If you can't get to me in person, I do it in a private video session. last up until an hour, and I charge $52 to do that. Must specify if it's a consultation or a reading. There's a difference between the two. Consultation is more of an open free-for-all. A spiritual reading is where we use a system of divination to contact the ancestors, spirit guides, or whatever else decides that wants to work their way through, and that's sit-down/consultation or spiritual consultation. Also, online classes. I know several of you have signed up, and a bunch have emailed me. That begins this Saturday. I did email everybody that signed up for the classes. That'll get the link on Saturday, 3 o'clock Eastern time. I do have, I think, 3 or 4 more spots left in the room. The room only allows me a max of 12 or 13, and I believe I have three or 4 more spots. If you can't get in on this session, I know some people have emailed me, when is the next session after this winter online session? That'll be in the spring. I'm trying to do it 3 times a year. I'm trying to do it once every 4 months, trying to do 3 sessions a year. So after this winter session, tentatively scheduled, I'm looking at doing the next one late March going into April. I know some of you have emailed me about that. But again, there's a couple more spots still left in the room. That will begin this Saturday at 3 o'clock. So for any of those aforementioned things, the ritual at the end of this month on November 30th, again, the Black Mass and Eternal Word of Set ritual. We will be performing all 19 parts of that Eternal Word of Set in addition to the Black Mass. That'll be Friday evening, November 30th. And we'll take a break. December, we will not do anything. This will be the last ritual for this year, and we'll reconvene in January. We've got some good stuff planned start next year after this ritual. So any of the aforementioned things, feel free to email me at the email I typed in. And again, if you forget the email, just look in the description box of all the videos. All right, which leads me to tonight's topic. What I wanted to kind of go over, continuing, again, we've been utilizing this particular book, so I want to put it up there again. Majority of the information that we will be, or excerpts, pieces that I will be pulling a few from this evening, will be from the Asetian Bible, from Louis Marquez. As you know, the last few weeks, I've been making it clear. The book, in my opinion, and I hope by now, since this is the 3rd week that we've been using this book, I hope by now a majority of you have got the book. As I've mentioned in the previous weeks, to me, it goes in much more depth as far as just dealing with vampirism. It really deals with the core of ancient Egyptian sciences, spirituality. Energy work is something I'm hoping to get into if I have time. I will be going in depth in the online classes, dealing with energy work, feeding. I'm not going to really too much go into depth with a lot of the basics. So, in the class, we will actually be demonstrating techniques. For people that take the class, for this class, there'll be, quote unquote, a lot of side work that you'll have to do. And it's more in a personalized setting where we'll be interacting with each other a little bit more in depth. But I will utilize some of that information, going through it openly on here. But obviously, due to the time constraints, sometimes it's hard to go over all the material. So what I've actually wanted to go over tonight, and there's a couple scattered sections in this book. And if you have the book, I will go give you the reference page. Now, again, I'm obviously coming from the hard copy. If you do have a online or digital version of this, I always tell people when you're following along, usually the digital versions aren't really in sequence page-wise with the hard copy. So I'll throw the chapter out there because I know some of you might have the digital. And for those that I emailed the book list for the classes, you can get a lot of those books. If you do have the Scribed app, I've mentioned that a bunch of times in the videos. I know a lot of you are familiar with that app, SCRIBD. Let me type that in if you're not. This is a great app. It's about $8 a month, I think. And you can get a lot of good occult, pretty much books in general. And again, as I mentioned in the past, I like to scribe that because you can look at something digitally, see if you really like it, and if it's mandatory to have in your hard copy collection, then you get it. That's pretty much how I determine what I'm going to get hard copy. Majority you can find for the most part. I'm going to say well over 90% of everything you're looking at. Which one? Sister Mandy, you're not talking about this one. None of those books should be $150. If you're talking about this one, which I was about to get to, do not go for this book on Amazon. You will get ripped off. They are charging ridiculous for this, $80 to $150. This particular book here, you need to go to barnesandnoble.com to get this book. And again, as I mentioned, Brother Duma, who brought this to my attention, he made that clear to me, and I even compared and checked them to Amazon. It's $25 for this book on barnesandnoble.com. Do not go to Amazon for this book. You will get robbed. As I said before, what Amazon tends to do when there's a limited supply of a certain book, they'll rip you off. All right. But if that's the book you're talking about, definitely don't pay no $150 for it. That's crazy. That book may not be available on digital, but scribed. A lot of the books, even that you hear me mention in the videos and the classes, you can get a lot of them on scribed. And again, to me, it's well worth a few dollars a month for that app because you could access everything. Okay, so yeah, go to Barnes and Noble, all right, for that book. Definitely don't get that shit on Amazon. They will take you to the cleaners. All right, so what I wanted to talk about tonight, as you saw the title of the video, Immortality, Past Lives, and then I'm going to finish up with, in the breakdown of this book, some of the three main character types. So they jacked that book up now. Last time I looked, about 2 weeks ago, they were selling it for, I saw one for 83 and I think one for 90 something. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they'll do that shit. I don't know why. Muhammad Gaddafi, I mentioned, if you remember the last class, remember the ancient Egyptian roots of Christianity, that book, and another one they were trying to clip people for. Good books, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't spend that type of money for them. All right. So let's talk first about Immortality, Past Life. I've got a short excerpt here I'm going to go through. But before I do that, this is a topic that comes up a lot. People, and I want to make sure I'm explaining this clear, because one thing I try to do is keep people grounded, but yet, experience their spirituality to the highest level that they can experience it. That's the goal, to encourage people to do that. But I find with certain topics, and I'm just speaking in general, I'm not particularly speaking to anybody in the room. I find in general, and Mandy, I just so you know, I text David today. Tell David I'm trying to give him a call tomorrow. He'll know what it's about. Just let him know. Certain topics, just in my experience, you got to be careful how you relate them, because some people tend to go to what I call Space Cadet or Spookville. Some people can get so spooky, in my opinion, and Space Cadeted out, that they lose sight of everyday reality, taking care of everyday responsibilities. So I want to be clear. What do I mean by that? I want to be crystal clear on this. Some people when they go out to Spookville, they want to be so spiritual, so heavy, so deep, but they can't take care of their mortgage and their bills and their family and their children. One of the challenges on this path, and I want to make this clear, and I deal with this on a regular basis with people in general, and I also want to make it clear, I deal with this on a regular basis with clients. People struggle to find that harmony between everyday life, creating their spiritual path, or staying grounded somewhere in between, right? It's very important that everybody on this path does that. And that's one of the things that's going to be your biggest obstacle, challenge, because in that process, it's all those obstacles that contribute to that. Family, friends, work life, personal time, social circles, all this shit factors in. I've watched people get super spooky when it comes to topics such as this, past lives, levitation, astral traveling. And it's real. Don't get me wrong. Regardless of your interpretation or opinion on it, it's real. But I'm always very cautious how I explain this shit because, again, before you try to be, a superstar, master guru, it's very important you get the basic things in order in your life first. Your basic necessities, your source of income, if you have a family, harmony within the family unit. If you don't have a full family with children, if you have a significant other, harmony with that and in sync of how this all connects to your personal life, your regular life, and your spiritual life. These are the challenges. None of this stuff comes easy. So I want to make that clear. That's one of the beauties of this path is looking at the big picture and trying to see all that. Now, in reference to immortality and past lives, I haven't said that. So as I've said that, keep that in mind. And again, I say proceed with caution to say, again, how you're kind of out of whack is if you're playing super duper space cadet, but your everyday life is not in order. That's a telltale sign. How do you know? Because then when you say things like this, the next question is, well, how do you know when that's happening? Real simple. Analyze your life in general. Again, your social circles, your money situation, your family life, your person, all those things. Now, are they going to be 100% perfect? Absolutely not. No such thing. It doesn't exist. But there should be some cohesiveness and harmony with all of those things, right? That's one of your goals on this path. Why do you want to come on this path, right? You hear me say this all the time. What's the purpose of studying, coming on this path, performing rituals, being on quote unquote the left-hand path, practicing these spiritual systems? What is all this about? It's for that specific reason. So you can perfect yourself, right? To become the best that you can be. That's your goal. Everybody, I hope, gets up every day. And again, as I said many times before, gets out of their bed, sets their feet on the ground with the hopes of accomplishing something or being the best at whatever it is they do to get up every day. And I couldn't give a shit if you were a garbage man or you flipped hamburgers at McDonald's. If you're on this path, you'd be the best hamburger flipper. You understand what I'm saying? That's the whole point of this path. All right. Immortality is something that the vampire is always working towards, right? Now, let's remove the spookyism from that. We're also talking about solidifying our existence, quote unquote, in the next realm. And I'm using the term loosely that people can connect with. That is our objective when we're practicing a spiritual system like this, to tap into the aspects of our immortality, right? Which connects to the past life concept. And I'm going to show you why I took those two concepts from the book and kind of connected them, because they are connected, all right? As you go deeper in your work, remember this, I want to make this clear. I keep telling people this over and over. How you get, quote unquote, the hidden secrets, if you want to use that term, how you get information or things revealed to you that you did not know is by being consistent in your spiritual work. Because how does that happen? Well, once you start opening up access to these different levels of information via spirit guides, if you want to call them entity daemons, a certain awareness, a communication line is opened up. Yes, it can be likened, as we've said many times before. The process is, again, lining up your vibrational frequencies and energy, correct, with the type of work or energy you're trying to connect with. Because if it's this current that we're talking about this evening, once you start doing ritualistic work with that energy and line up your vibrational frequency with it, you now have opened yourself up and made yourself receptive to the spirits that connect with that, right? This is where the communication and awareness starts to come in. And this is where I keep telling people, this is where your spiritual and mental growth comes by, because not everybody is going to be able to tell you everything you know. That's number one. You're not going to be able to read everything you need to know in a book. All of these things, be it teachers, elders, guides, books, information, all of those things are just tools that are used to open up certain aspects of yourself, push you in the right direction, get you motivated. Again, look at it just as kind of a roadmap or a guidance, but the true transformation, the true change, the true personal revelations, the true higher level of awareness, quote unquote, or connecting with your personal daemon comes in you performing your own personal work. And I've said before, there's that, and then there's the connection, obviously, to group work or ritualistic work as a group, which as we do here on a monthly basis. It's very important to understand both aspects, understand the energies of both. Even in vampirism, there's a lot of group ritualistic work. Vampire Mass is a very group-orientated participation type of ritual, which is for a reason, because you're connecting with a variety of different currents of energy of different individual people, right? That, quote unquote, I'm going to be clear, that are in sync or lined up in sequence with each other, right? All right. We've all been here before. We've talked about this in dealing with past lives and immortality. When you start to do your personal work, you will come to the realization via meditations, any rituals that you're performing, when you get certain experiences from that particular ritual, you will find out, you'll get many revelations again that you've been here before. This is not your first time here. It's not your first go around here. For an example, and again, I don't like to get into too much personal stuff because that would be redundant, but I share personal stuff when it is in relation to the topic. I've mentioned it, I believe, in the past, briefly here and there. I've found out through my personal work, as far as past lives or spirit guides, per se, for years now, going back to the late 90s, early 2000s. What's come to me in my work through elders and my own personal work and different systems I've been in, a Native American chief, a gladiator during medieval times, a priest / monk, a Congo African warrior spirit, which are four main past lives and spirit guides that I work with when it comes to past lives and immortality. Once that awareness is brought to you, and some of it was brought to me again when I was initiated and belonged to certain systems, but now that I'm not involved in those aspects of it anymore, I am able now, added more, obviously, later down the road through work, more stuff became abundantly clear. And I found as I started to venture out on my own, experiment, and put things into practice, things became even clearer. So once you access it, here's the importance of that. I want to make this clear. The reason why I was saying what I was saying prior to this, to have your shit together in the now, because some people are looking, and I get a lot of emails about that. What do you think about past life? My response, first and foremost, I wouldn't really be focusing on that if I ain't got my shit together in this life. I want to make that clear. Let me say that again. It's great if you're searching. Doesn't mean you still can't, but make sure you got your shit together in this life. Because when the topic comes up, there's some spiritual circles that'll say, you hear this term, I'm sure all of us have heard it somewhere before, or read it somewhere before. You keep coming here until you master, the shit you're no good at or your weaknesses. Now, I can't confirm if that's 100% true or not. I can only correlate it to personal work that I've done for myself. I do believe there's an element of that that's true, because I do believe you do have to master the weak shit about yourself. I do believe you have to address it, which you're not good at. You definitely need to challenge yourself and figure out any of those things you suck at. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it, or might be holding you back. You need to face them head on. You need to come up with solutions and methodologies to correct that shit. Because as you get older and you leave it laying dormant, it's just building up. It's like a time bomb waiting to explode. Like if you got a jealousy streak, we got some weak ass dudes out here, right? Or weak ass females too. Jealousy is a killer. That destroys a lot of people. They can't keep their emotions in check, right? And usually an individual that's jealous, he or she has an insecurity issue. There's some personal insecurity issues that they're not dealing with themselves. What do I mean by that? Somebody usually that's jealous or has trust issues usually was affected in some shape, form, or fashion. Usually they might come from relationships with excess baggage. They might have daddy or mommy issues, not getting enough attention. There's something at the core. So when you have issues like that, you don't have fully under control. Those are just, basic ideas of how you face them head on. All right, because I want to make this clear. Identify them is one thing. That's great. But if you just identify them and don't do anything about it, that's just as bad as just ignoring that it doesn't exist. So I do believe there's some element of truth to that you keep, quote unquote, reincarnating here until you master shit. Now, when dealing with past lives and reincarnation, I want to make this clear. You can read shit in books. It's a very debatable topic because a large aspect of it is subjective. And if you're dealing with somebody that wants to be extremely objective and they need to fact check every single thing. And I believe on certain spiritual topics and when you're dealing with certain levels of spirituality, unfortunately, you can't fact check and find everything in the book. But you do have those people that if they can't trace it to some root or some source, they're not going to accept it. And rightfully so, they're entitled to that. Doesn't mean that it's not true or it's wrong. It just means that's the methodology that they chose to approach it. And because they haven't raised themselves up to the reality of it, it's not a reality to them. We all, and when working with this concept of immortality as a vampire, for an example, there are rituals, meditations, and visuals that will bring this awareness and clearness to your immortality, right? All the concepts that you use in this technique is to get you to understand and access and tap into that, right? Past lives, right? As far as which we're gonna read in a second. There are techniques, things you can do to access that part of your psyche to specifically identify aspects of your past life. So I'm going to kind of start there and go into those little excerpts. I just wanted to throw that some of those brief points in there. All right. So again, I just want to make it clear, like I said in the beginning, again, if you came in late, I want to make sure we stay grounded when it comes to this topic. Because when people come to me super spooky and space cadet it out, I try to keep them in check by asking them, well, all right, before you go to Space Cadetville, how you doing here on the planet Earth? How's your life in order here? How's your personal life, your family life, your finances? Let's get that shit right first. All right, I want to make that clear. All right, so let me, again, I'll give you the chapter. If you have a video, I don't even know if they do this book on digital. I never really looked, so I don't know if anybody does have it on digital, but I couldn't tell you the page. But I will give you the chapter. All right. So we are going to be first and foremost in, I believe it is, where is it? I should mark this shit. Sometimes I just read it and have the shit in my head and I don't mark it, which is not a good thing to do. Where is it? Secret lineage. I know it's in here. The fuck? Okay. Did I not? Oh, I know that it's on this page here. Okay. All right. I found the one, past life aggression, which that's one way, which I'm going to try to finish up with that. Damn, I should have marked it. Okay, here we go. We're going to be actually in chapter 3, page 70, if you got the hard copy. All right. And again, as soon as I'm done going through the material, I will go through the chat room and address your questions and your comments. I will not read and deal with your conversation amongst each other. I'll skip that for the sake of time, unless any of those comments are pertinent to what we're talking about. All right, so page 70, immortality, right? One of the most important pillars, concepts, and beliefs in the Asetian tradition is the acceptance of their own personal immortality. This is something that is not manifested out of faith, but a thing that is considered as a fact without the chaotic influences of doubt. Notice it says the chaotic influences of doubt. That's a lot of people's problem. I've been talking about the last couple of weeks to trust your intuition, trust the spiritual messages that you get. And where people ruin that is, stop always trying to get validation from somebody outside of yourself, because that's where the doubt creeps in. Notice it used the term chaotic influence of doubt, where you kind of self-destroy some of your growth when you go against that message or that intuition, because that's a sign of results from the work that you're doing. Now, just because you might be getting messages and it may not be lining up with everybody else's shit, but that's the shit that you need to tap in that's going to work for you because it's lined up with you, because you remember you're personally laying the path out for yourself. All right. So doubt is one of those tools we all struggle with. The immortality is not something physical or tangible. It is the immortality of the Asetian soul, the vital force within their body that never ends nor fades away. The physical body of the vampire does not live forever. It gets old, becomes weak, and perishes just like everyone else's. But their souls linger forever and come back to this world, incarnated in a brand new physical shell, another mortal body. So this is a concept in vampirism of immortality and reincarnation. A lot of spiritual systems are aligned with that concept. In the Egyptian mysteries, the ancient Egyptians taught the same thing. They believed that they lived eternally. They believed that eternity and that bloodline, which we'll get into, connects to that immortality and eternity. That they understood the concept that we know the physical body decays, becomes old, goes back to the essence physically, right? But they held strong conviction in the concept that the soul lives on forever, right? The soul is the true essence of each individual. The soul is a life force of energy that connects you into everything in existence in the multi and universes, right? This is something important to understand, because your work is centered around tapping into that true essence. What is the bridge or the gap that connects and brings that all together? Your personal daemon, your higher self. And there is an aspect of that work also on this path. Your personal daemon, which really is your real you, your true self, the real you, right? Or as some call it shadow work. That could be another term you could use, no doubt. But your personal daemon brings the intelligence. When people say, I'm looking to tap into shit and learn shit I don't know, well, that's what's going to connect you and bring it to you. Once you start doing work and connecting with that personal daemon, I've mentioned this many times before in the past on other videos, that's going to be the greatest archetype / deity / God that you ever work with. Because why? It's something that you created in the sense because it represents the real you, the personality, the characteristics, the traits, its way of thinking, the genius aspect of it, right? Because remember, that's one aspect of a daemon, and what the word daemon means from the Greek, right? This is very important to understand, because in your spiritual connection with this work, that's where you're going to get those revelations from. That's where you're going to get, the awareness that we all seek on this path, right? The awareness in the sense that we want to be, we want things to be made known to us that we're not aware of. So little simple things when you go into work, especially when you're doing invocations or meditations or visualizations, whether you're doing them internally or you're actually doing external invocations, you should always say something in them such as, make things aware to me that I need to know, that I'm not aware of, in relation or connection to any system that you're working with, right? All right. Just like a phoenix that continuously comes back to life from the ruin of his own ashes, this cycle of death and rebirth goes on and on. Until the end of time, the phoenix has its roots in the Bennu bird from ancient Egypt, which was another symbol that in the right context literally meant reincarnation, like the Khepri, right? To remanifest. Remember, Khepri or kepara, right? Is coming into the awareness and the self-realization of who and what you really are. That's the key. That's why we're on this path. You strip away all the illusions, all the things you self-created shit you created about yourself, right? That's not the real you. That's the artificial you. That's the you that you built up. That's the, now look, ego can be a good thing and ego could be a bad thing, right? The ego, I'm sorry, the ego. I'm thinking about the Bennu bird. The ego can, because at certain times you need the ego to protect you. Your ego is what protects you in certain situations and scenarios, but your ego can also hinder you from spiritually progressing and growing, right? This is important to understand because when working with Kepara, right, or Kepri as it says here, you strip all that away. That's one of the key things one must do when setting foot on this path, stripping away the illusionary you, all the things from birth as a child to an adolescent to a teen to a young adult to a grown-ass man or woman, right? You must do a stock of all those things and really analyze and put into perspective, what are those things that I identify with are really me? And am I identifying with those things just on face value? Because remember that I tie that into the three aspects, right? I always say, you always hear me say, there's the false you, the you that you try to portray yourself as people, you know, who you want people to see you as. There's who you think you are. But then there's the one that only counts is who you really are. That's step one on this path. So you strip away all those illusions, right? These concepts of eternal life and never-ending rebirth are hallmarks of the Asetian religion and spirituality, being represented in two of the sacred pillars, Ankh and Kepri. Now, if you have the book, we went over the 7 pillars briefly last week. There's 7 symbolic pillars, and the Teti or Tet of Aset, which represents that royal bloodline of Aset, which we're going to get into a little bit of that soon. I say you can use the symbols of those 7 pillars and create your own rituals. Each one symbolizes a certain aspect of consciousness and awareness that resides within you. So you can use the sigil of those pillars and create your own working with it. Again, this is why we call it the path of self-mastery. You must create things for yourself and on your own that's going to be pertinent for your growth. And who better knows that than you? You understand what I'm saying? All right. So, however, the pillars cannot and shall not be interpreted so easily and in such a direct way. They are symbols that express not only an idea, but also a stream of metaphysical and spiritual thought behind it. Even more motivation to create a working with them. The Asetian pillars represent a very complex philosophical system whose mysteries take years and many times even lifetimes to fully understand. Notice it said lifetimes plural, right? Being immortal, the soul of the Asetians is different from the ones present in humans, not only in the form, but also in the characteristics. The whole way it interacts with energy is different, resulting in beings with a unique connection with the subtle. The vampiric soul not only can't be destroyed or killed, as it does not suffer any aging over time, unlike the human souls. This peculiarity in the divine soul of the Asetian conditions them, while incarnating beings, to have some problems in accepting with dealing with old age, because while the Asetian immortal soul is ancient and full of wisdom, memories, and experiences, it does not decline nor wears out. The fact that the soul of an Asetian keeps young, fresh, and forever new manifests in a higher difficulty in the adaptation to the process of getting older, both physically and mentally. While bound to this material reality, human beings can deal a lot better with the process of aging than vampires do, because for them, it is only a natural process in life connected to their own form of existence. Their souls age and degrade with time over the cycle of incarnations, just like their bodies get weaker and die in physical life, making the process of aging and loss of faculties for them a far more natural thing in the wide scheme of things. You will notice, I've mentioned this before in the past, you will notice people on this path that work with the energy, they do age, as it says here, like fine wine. A lot of us don't really look the age, in my opinion, I can attest to this. People that I know, they don't really look the age that identifies them with a number. You tend to age like fine wine. Why? Because you do things that keep you in line with a certain energy and frequency. Excuse me. I touched on little things that keep you young, right? And not just physically, but make you feeling young. And when you carry a certain inner energy and vibration, it's expressed outwardly. You always hear me talk about music and connecting with music. Music is such a vital and a key element and importance of life. Music and the expression of it and how it connects with us as human beings can't even be explained, because remember, harmonics is the fabric or the glue that keeps, quote unquote, the universe and multiverses intact. We all know music affects us on a multitude of levels, right? There's two things you should understand with music, even movies or certain time frames and eras. You will find, I don't care if you're real with yourself. So I'm going to speak people in my age group, maybe not so much if you're in your 20s and 30s. You may not be able to fully relate to what I'm going to say. You still might, because you can connect it to your generation and your time frame, right? For people who are in their late 40s, mid 40s, late, you will find out if you listen to a lot of the more modern day music, that shit will make you feel old. Because it's a different era, it's a different generation. Yeah, you can listen to it. I'm not saying you can't vibe with it and not like it. That's not what I'm saying. But you will find out there's a certain disconnect there. Now, the reason why you might say, and myself, I listen to a lot of older music. And I always get teased by my wife, who always teases me. Look at her walking by trying to be all, critical, sticking her head out. She always crack on me about listening to old school music, which I listen to a lot, but she's my age, so she listens to a lot of the same shit. You will find that it will make you feel younger. I want to make that clear, because it connects you and it literally takes you back to a certain period of time when that music was out. I also have talked about this in the past as a method of time travel, right? Because to show you how effective, and this all ties into immortality, past lives, time travel. I want to run through this again real brief. Like I said, you could have heard a song growing up as a child. I don't care. It could have been an Al Green song. It could have been the Shy Lights, the Temptations. It could be Keith Sweat. It could be New Edition. You might hear a certain song that you might have heard played around your house, right? Let me show you how vivid and how powerful when you tap into the spirituality and the essence of it, all right? Say this song was constantly played around dinner time or on the weekends, and you start tapping into the energy and vibration of that song, you can smell what your mother used to cook, right? Everything becomes vivid. You can see the house. You can see the living room, the color of the carpet or the floors, the furniture. Your mind becomes sharper where you might even, you remember in detail the clothing you were wearing, the clothing your mother was wearing, what she looked like, her hairstyle, if your father was in that experience, brothers or sisters. If it's let's say it's an old, R&B jam, right? We all can be taken back to the first time we might have had a sexual experience, or, one of our first dates or one of our first boyfriends or girlfriends, right? To the point where certain songs can bring back the time of the year, what the weather was like. Yeah, and sometimes I can get so vivid with the exact date and year. That's how fucking crazy it is. So there's a connection with the vibration. When we talk about when you hear that term, you must line your vibrational frequencies and energies up, right? It's not just a saying. That's one way. When your vibration, when everything is in sync and working in unison, everything meshes, quote unquote, as one, you start to open up portholes and access certain avenues of information where things just become so vivid, clear, and sharp. But doing what I'm talking about with the music is a methodology of regenerating yourself on a cellular level, right? It literally keeps you internally young. It keeps the circulation flowing, keeps the body feeling good. And in turn, this is expressed outwardly. Trust me when I tell you. Any of us right now can throw on a pair of headphones, sit back, and play some throwback music, and we can go off. We'll be off in La La Land in a matter of 10 or 15 minutes. And what I'm throwing at you here actually Literally, this is some work you can do. Okay. This is some work you can do ritualistically and create a system with it. And I'll do this on a weekly basis, play old school music, and it takes you back to those certain points in your life that you can connect with. It's the same way that I've talked about in the past, where you can go back and visit personal traumas and change the outcome, right? This is a reality for those that are practicing. I know I'm not the only one, because I know some of y'all have done it. You've contacted me, and I've spoken with some of you and people that I deal here with locally. So when you tap into that energy, once you feel it and you're connected with that current, then you figure out a methodology. How can I bring that forward to today? Now, like I said, let's say New Edition. You throw a New Edition song on right now, your mind just start wandering. You remember when the first album came out in 1983, 83 going into 84. You'll start remembering the breakdancing era, right? You'll start remembering what we were wearing during them times, what sneakers were in, straight-legged leads with the creases. All that shit starts to come back. And sometimes a smile just comes over your face. You get those goosebumps, or a certain, wave of energy shoots through you, because you know what? It connected you to a part of your youth where you were vibrant. You know what? That's when you wasn't corrupted with all the bullshit mentally that you corrupted with now. When I say corrupted, I mean the struggles that you deal with. Obviously, times have changed. Things have changed. We're living in a day and time where we're dealing with a lot more adverse scenarios. But try in your free time to connect with that. A good, simple working / ritual, and it's not even deep or heavy. And I like to do it with earphones that block out noise. Sometimes I'll do it openly on my Bluetooth speaker. But if you get earphones that or noise reduction, and it blocks out the external noise, it gives you the ability to lock in. Sit down one time on your couch. Just sit down. Relax. Sit in a relaxing position. You will find out in a matter of minutes, you will be gone. You will have one of the most astral time traveling experiences that you ever had in your life. And sometimes it's good. What I've done with the Amazon app, I'm telling you, I'm giving you little practical ways you can work magic. Magic ain't just always about putting on your black robe, and doing work in a ritual chamber on the altar. That's part of it. Don't get me wrong. But this is a very simple, create a playlist. Like I'm sure many people have the Amazon Music app or some type of music app. I've created my own playlist with certain genres, and I put them in a year sequence, literally. I've started from when I was a child, the music I used to listen to, my parents used to listen to growing up, which started from the 60s, late 50s, early 60s. And I literally went in sequence. And I've literally sat down and listened to them in the sequence. And it literally takes me through my entire life, from a child to present day and adult. And I literally have the list from then till now, even though probably the only new stuff I listen to now is very selective, shit I can bear. But I'll take it up to this very day. And what you have done in that process, by reflecting on those aspects of your existence, you're able to really critique the joys and the sorrows of your life. Because in doing this type of work, you will find out there'll be moments of sadness, there'll be moments of joy. Certain music, remember, there's certain music that's connected to painful parts of our life, whether it was a horrible relationship, a terrible breakup. Certain music incites the loss of loved ones within us. There's a reality. I'm not making this basic shit you all know is true. Well, utilize that concept of music if you want to deal with your bullshit, right? If you want to find a methodology to use to deal with your bullshit, use music. Music will bring it all to the surface. And you will find out shit will come to the surface that you might have been suppressing. All right. So that's one aspect. I would be interested for you guys to try that and give me some feedback on that. And how to go about it. And my suggestion is just you might come up with your own method. That's fine. Create a playlist. Try to remember. Really sit down. And I have now. I'm up to about 300 to 400 songs and still growing. And I separate them by genres. I have certain ones that are mixed. Crazy song. ELO, Telephone Line. Let me give you, if you guys are familiar with the group ELO, now I'm going back, Electric Light Orchestra. They made a song called Telephone Line. You know how I remembered that song? because every time we would drive to my grandmother's house on the weekends, that song would pop up on the radio when my father was driving. Crazy shit. And I remember every word to the song. I accessed it. Little shit like that. What I would suggest you do is sit down in retrospective and start thinking of songs. And when you really sit down and focus, all types of songs are going to start coming. Shit you forgot. They go, oh, shit, I remember that song. Oh, I remember that song. And then create a playlist. I would suggest you get an organized playlist before you sit down and do this type of work. Have it long enough where you can really tap in. So step one would be actually create a playlist. First, sit down, analyze and think, reflect back when you were younger to present day, and whatever songs start coming to your mind, start searching for them and create a list. You can organize them however you see fit when you're done. Once you have that together, then I would suggest that you go into working. Again, I'm going to go back. This is the book we're reading from, Asetian Bible. All right. And I've suggested for the last 3 weeks, people get this book. And let me clarify again, make sure you go onto Barnes & Noble and get it. Because on Amazon, it's a ridiculous price. And Mama Muerte, a.k.a. Mandy, verified that. I've told people that a few weeks back. When the amount of copies is limited, they'll try to overcharge you on Amazon. So go on to barnesandnoble.com. You can get it for $25. All right. The second section I want to go over is past lives, and then we're going to go into bloodlines. And then again, just be patient. I will go back through the chat and take your questions and your comments once I'm done with the material. I will start from the top and go to the bottom. So be patient. If you type the question in when I go to questions recently, don't think I'm skipping you. I'm going to start from the top. All right, past lives. Remembrance of past lives is a valuable tool for any Asetian. This happens under many different forms, from hypnotic and energy-induced regressions, past life regressions. I don't know if I'm trying to get into that tonight. Simple visions during meditation. That's where I found my experience where I get the most revelation of that. I want to say that again. Simple visions during meditation. You can simply go into a working and ask your spirit guides, ancestral spirit guides, your ancestors, whatever spirits or demons that you're working with, to make these things aware of you. Specifically make that clear in your invocations and your communications. Even if it's an inner one where you're doing it in silence, but you're saying it internally, make that crystal clear. So sometimes people are looking for some deep, heavy answer. How can I tap into this shit? And they think it's some long, drawn out, heavy, deep shit. Sometimes it's so simple and basic. And those that know me know, and the work that I've done for years, to me, less is more. I'm about keeping it as simple as you can. I ain't with really all that complicated shit. There are periods where my vibration and energy wants to get very elaborate with imagery. And for those that have done group work with me, know that I will go when the time is right. Yes, I will make it a little intricate and detailed and ritualistic working. But I've found consistently being or keeping it very simple is the most effective. So sometimes I've gotten a lot like visions, as it said here, during meditation, energy work, and sleep, as it says here. And sleep is another powerful tool, right? Let me throw another little jewel at you that I mentioned before. Remember, I've always told people this, and I tell some of the people that, or some of my clients, always access, quote unquote, the dream realm, because there are that astral realm / spirit realm / dream realm is a high form of communication that you go to every night. You just need to learn how to tap into it frequently. One thing I do that has worked very effective for me, keep an image of a gateway or a road, keep a deity. I've done ample, right? Anyone that bridges you to the realm of the dead, which, as I've said, is really the realm of eternal life of the living, say an invocation, let's per se to Ampu, that as I lay down and go to sleep this evening and travel the spiritual realm, guide me through it and make aware to me those things that I need to know and be aware of, and those things about myself that I need to be known and aware of. You will be surprised how a little invocation to an archetype like that before sleep will prepare you for a journey. Trust me. And the reason why I say keep the image or the symbolicism of that archetype near the bedside is to keep that energy of that realm or the dream realm or spirit realm, whatever you want to call it, keep that energy flowing. It could be a small image, a picture, a small statue. And people that have done this and given me feedback have told me a lot of great things in their experiences. So dreams are another strong way to connect with the things we're talking about tonight, past lives and immortality, right? Practice it on a regular basis. Here's the other thing. Don't just do the shit one time, 2 times, 3 times. One thing I keep stressing on this path that goes right over everybody's fucking head is be consistent at what you do. It kills me when somebody does something 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 times and then they say, oh man, I ain't getting no results. And my first question, well, how long have you been doing at it? Everybody is different. You got to factor in. Everybody's dealing with different shit. Everybody has certain things that could or could not be blocking them. Certain stress, things that are weighing them down. Certain people's pineal glands may not be fully activated, quote unquote, as others, etc. Some people have more of a calcified pineal gland where they can't just link in or connect right out the gate. They have to do some personal work to get that thing activated and decalcified, right? Before you start saying your crown chakra is wide open and you're having all these experiences. And I think some people get that twisted, but that's a whole nother story. But stay consistent, because some people, yes, don't get me wrong, there's some people that have the ability to do things once or twice and they tap right in. It's just sometimes it's a gift and it's more natural, where some others have to stay at it longer and harder and do it more times before they crack, that barrier and get linked in and connected. So you got to also understand when you're doing this, where everybody is different. Not everybody's going to get the same response as far as quick or as slow. So don't compare your journey, your experience to somebody else's, because everybody is unique and different, that we're all having our own, even though it's a collective experience, but it's also an individual experience simultaneously. So know how to separate it from the collective, because you are unique in the sense that you are your own individual, right? You have to express that uniqueness, right? So you can't compare your situation, your journey, and your experiences to the next person, because they're different. And there's a reason for that, okay? So understand that. You must be consistent to understand this, okay? All right. So again, meditation, energy, work, and sleep to intuitive past life development. Of course, this sort of information just by itself is not very representative. It needs to be analyzed and validated by more than one single source before it can actually be accepted. Invariably, if the remembrance occurs in the form of a simple flash or it manifests in a true full-fledged regression, the person has accessed his own Akashic records. We always hear the term Akashic records. Oh, the Akasha. The tablets of destiny, the knowledge of all. Well, the Akashic resides in the subconscious, right? Once you are able to access your own personal Akashic records, that will open the doorway to these past lives, right? Now, again, I want to be careful when I'm talking and teaching on this subject, because I don't want people to go to Spookyville, because then some people start getting into personal subjective experiences, and you got to be careful with that. Not saying you can't share that and dialogue with people with that, but as I've said before, you can't get offended if somebody hasn't had a similar or like experience. Some people get offended when somebody can't connect to their personal subjective experiences. So I say the answer to that is some shit you just need to keep to yourself. You'll know when it's the right time to talk about it or not talk about it. But sometimes I found that people have diarrhea of the mouth, and then they put themselves in a certain situation where their feelings get hurt. When we went over the Luciferianism stuff a few weeks back, remember, the mindset of a Luciferian is understanding there's a multitude of perspectives of how to look at things, and this is one of them. Not everybody's going to have the same perspective. Not everybody's going to look at this the same way. As Luciferians, and as far as the mindset that we should be looking through, we accept that. We understand it is very vast. It is very diverse. We understand that just because another individual might perceive something one way that's totally in opposition to the way we do, we respect that. We don't have to agree with it, and we can respectfully agree to disagree. We can express our disagreements, but we don't get pissed off, upset, or mad, or attack somebody just because they don't see the shit the way we see it. I don't do that shit. Now, none of us should do that shit. But sometimes you get an ignorant asshole that needs to be put in their place. Don't get me wrong. So you also got to know the time to pull out that can of whoop ass, but never be the aggressor. Only respond when need be. You understand? Like I said, you can believe, accept, deal, understand, whatever term you want to use when it deals to information. You can accept it any way you want. I got no problem with that. The problem I do have is when you try to force your way on me. That's the problem. When you start doing that shit, then the can of whoop ass got to come out. Then you get your feelings hurt. Then we break down the very fabric and core of your existence, of everything you think is a reality, right? And we don't want to go there because remember, the destroyer of worlds, which is the destroyer of worlds is a concept we work with regularly here. And the destroyer of worlds represents, again, eliminating and destroying all the illusionary stuff about you so you can create new worlds, new existences, new pathways, new opportunities. Because remember, where there's destruction, there's regeneration, growth, and creation. That's what the destroyer of worlds just doesn't represent destruction, death, doom, and gloom. The problem is when everybody wants change and growth, they don't want to go through none of the hardships that come along with it. The world is screaming for change, but nobody wants to go through the struggles and the hardships that's going to come with that and the obstacles. You can't scream you want change, but you don't want to sacrifice nothing for it. And I'm not just talking physical sacrifice. I'm talking about emotional, mental, and spiritual sacrifice. You might be challenged on everything you stood firm and thought was a reality. You know, certain things you thought were the truth, you might find out, oh shit, I thought that was some real shit for years. Now I find out it's not as real as I thought it was. You know, you start finding out certain people in your life aren't really who you thought they were. That could be your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, your boyfriend, whatever, your brother, your sister, your uncle. Sometimes one of the hardest pills to swallow in life is finding out your immediate family could be really fucked up. You understand what I'm saying? And you start seeing shit in them like, damn, I'm connected to that shit by blood. Yeah, maybe by blood genetically, but it don't mean you have to be the same way mentally. These are the things that come to the surface. And as I said before, your family is your greatest challenge. Your family is your greatest test. They're going to put you through the most fucked up shit. Because when you really analyze and go through your life, it's non-bloodline people that have been there for you more than your direct family. Think about it. Be real with yourself. I'm not saying you ain't got a sibling. I'm not saying you ain't close with your mother, your father, or your brothers and sisters, your siblings. I'm not saying some of us have special brothers and sisters we're close with. But on the whole, if you took a census, you will find out, people will tell you, man, the most fucked up shit or people they've dealt with in their life is the drama people got in their families over dumb shit. This one don't talk to this one. This one's holding a grudge on this one. This one's mad with this one over some money shit. And it's just fuckery that just keeps filtering on down. I'm telling you this because I've experienced it with my family. I've watched relationships be ruined over the dumbest shit. And I've always been the one that always kept the line of communication with everybody. You understand? These are things you got to address because you may not think those things affect you. You can say, well, yeah, you know, I might got a fucked up family, but nah, that ain't a big deal. It is. It's just you don't know subconsciously how it affects you. Some of us struggle in life, living productive lives because we feel stressed and pressured by dealing with our family. I'm not saying everybody, but I know a lot of people that struggle with that, right? People, you got to face that shit. You understand? You got to deal with that stuff. You understand? Like basic shit. I tell, like, look, I love my family to death, but I realized, and I never really had a horrible relationship with anybody in my family. Been little issues here off and on, but I chose at an early age, right after I graduated high school, I moved out the house and I ain't never went back. You understand? Never went back. Got an apartment, been on my own since 17, going on 18 years old. But that was a conscious decision that I made because I love my family, but I can't live with my family. You understand what I'm saying? I love visiting my family, spending time with them, but I also love knowing that there's going to be a time where I'm leaving, I'm going back to my own domain. I need my privacy. I need my space. And I realize that's the method that I can keep a cohesive relationship with my family. And I see my sisters, my father and mother have passed away now. I have 3 sisters and cousins. I see them regularly throughout the year. I have one sister that lives here. All my other sisters are in New York. All my cousins are in New York. And I go up there several times a year, probably 4 or 5 times a year. And I see my sister here regularly. I got two uncles that live here. Um, I have a method where it all works out. Holidays, birthdays, regular get-togethers. It's a great vibe, great energy. But the beautiful thing is, I enjoy myself more because I know there's going to get to a point where I'm fucking peacing out. And then I come into my own domain. I've always realized as an individual at a very young, early age, I need my space. I need my privacy. I don't like being in that environment. I loved it as a kid. And I can't complain. I ain't gonna sit here. I ain't got no horror stories growing up as a child, besides the regular struggles financially, watching my parents, struggle, being on food stamps. We all been through that in some shape, form, or fashion. But I was fortunate, had a great family life. My parents stayed together their whole life. They didn't divorce, which is very rare in this day and time. And I had two great parents. And my father, I give him the ultimate respect to my mother's death in 96, took care of her in the house. Never had her committed. We don't believe in putting our people in nursing homes and institutions and letting them die. We kept my mother at home, took care of her on her own. And, she transitioned when she was supposed to. You understand? And one thing I'll give my father respect for from day one, stood with her by her side, even when she was terminally ill, and did everything that he had to do in his power. You understand? So I can't complain. I had a good family life. I had both parents there, three sisters. Even though we didn't have shit, we wouldn't quote unquote have money. We were considered lower middle class, if that's the right term. Now there's no such thing as middle class. That shit doesn't exist anymore. You either got money or you don't. And that's what's really getting to happen or going on in this world now. See, everybody thinks with this Trump and all this shit that it's a race thing. It appears to be race, because you either have money or you don't. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time. But we were considered at that time lower middle class. You actually had a thing that was lower middle class, and upper middle class, which were terms we created back then for you had really no money, just a little bit. Middle class, you had kind of some money. Upper middle class, you ain't really had dough, but you weren't broke. You understand? We all know, if you're my age, I'm 47, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. That's just how it was. So we were considered the lower level tier of middle class. But one thing that I've gotten from my life, from my family, we made the best out of everything we had. Even though we didn't have shit, my parents always made us feel like we did. You understand? My mother always did everything in her power, holidays, birthdays, to try to make it relevant. You understand what I'm saying? One thing that always stands out to me, my older sister's birthday is June 9th. I'm June 10th. Little shit like this. We always got a cake the same time, but it was a nice cake. But that was my mother's way of compromising. All right, since our birthdays are a day apart. Just throwing little shit out there. So actually, I draw strength from my childhood. One thing I learned from my parents is how to take nothing and make something out of it. Or use the concept how to make the best. You hear this term, but I don't know if we apply it. Make the best out of what you got. See, some of us are constantly looking for shit. We want more and more, because by nature, we are consuming gluttonous people, right? We want more and more. We're constantly looking for shit to satisfy us, right? Because let me give you an example. We always say, how many of us said back in the day, man, if I could only have that car, if I could get that jacket, I don't want anything else ever again, right? And as soon as the newness of that shit wears off, the mind is now trying to focus on something else to keep it entertained. All right, we got the jacket, the thrill is worn off. Now we're looking for something else to. If I can only, man, that's that chain, right? I mean, if I get that gold, that chain, man, I wouldn't want nothing else if I can get that, right? If I get that car, right? If I get that car, I don't ever want nothing else again. That's what I'm talking about. You'll find out that these are aspects of ourselves that keep us fucked up and stagnated. So I learned from my upbringing in my childhood. I watched my mother shop, and I watched my mother stretch dollars and know how to be creative with cash. And I'm talking about the real food stamps. I ain't talking about no motherfucking EBT card. If you go back to my age, I'm talking about I used to call it funny money when I was a kid. When I remember as a young kid seeing it at first before my mother explained to me. I'm talking about I was a little kid. And I see my mother go to we'd be at the checkout counter, and I see her pay with this. It's called funny money. I used to tell my mom, "What's that funny money?" And she should just say, "Yeah, it's funny money." You know what I mean? I'm talking about the paper food stamps, that had pictures and shit on it. If you go back then, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. I remember my mother pulling out the envelope. That's how you got food stamps back in the day. If you know what I'm talking, I'm not talking to you. There ain't no motherfucking EBT card now where you swipe it and it looks like. And you know what kills me? Like people that are embarrassed about the shit. I watched them at the checkout. They try to do it real quick. They don't want you to see the EBT card. Yo, fuck it. It is what it is. My mother never. She didn't give a fuck. She pulled that funny money out, and I still call it funny money to this day. We lived off of that shit. You understand? But I watched her take cat. I watched her sit down and plan food stamps, cash on hand. Because remember back then there were no motherfucking credit cards. It's cash checks and food stamps when you went shopping. I watched my mother. She would sit down, plan that shit, get to the fucking checkout counter, and have it like clockwork in her head. She knew. You understand? We grew up eating Pathmark. If you remember Pathmark supermarket, we no frills hours. To be called no frills. That's you had the fake Fruit Wheels. It wasn't Fruit Loops. It was Fruit Wheels. It's crazy shit. I mean, I could be here all day, talking about this shit. But reflect back on them lessons learned. If you had an upbringing. Now, again, I know not everybody had a positive upbringing. I know some people have come up through some traumatic family situations. So I'm gonna, be understanding of that. I'm speaking if you were an individual, things were so much simpler then. If I knew what I knew now, nothing I would give to go back. And I loved my high school years, right? I remember back then it was fun and we always used to be looking forward to, can't wait till I graduate. Shit. Now I'm 47. I wish I could go back to high school. You understand? And that's when it was a great time. And in the high school I went to, we were all close knit. You know what I mean? Yeah, we had a little beefs and disagreements, little rivals with, next towns over and all. We all had them. But man, we had a blast in high school. You know what I mean? What I would give to go back to being in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade again. Shit, I traded in a minute. You know what I mean? I draw on the strengths. I mean, again, I can only speak on my experience. I don't know, everybody has their own. I'm sure some of you have very similar experiences to what I'm talking about, but I can't complain. I wouldn't sit here and sit here and try to create horror stories outside of the normal struggles. You know what I mean? I appreciate my upbringing, my childhood. I appreciate my circle of friends and those that know a few months ago, probably my best friend growing up in high school, George, who passed away back in July. The memories going back there, I saw people, it's crazy, and it's just like when we meet up, some of us don't see each other for years. It's like, if we don't see each other for years, like we pick up right where we left off. And that shows you that energy and that connection. It's weird because even though like some of my boys I ain't seen in like 4, 5, 6 years, ran into them in July, and it's like we left off from the last time. You know what I mean? So one cat I ain't seen probably since 2 years removed from high school, and we sat and talked at George's repassing for hours. And it's like, even though I ain't seen him in over 20 years, it's like we were talking every day. It's the craziest shit. So there's some beauty in it. We gotta look at it and see the beauty in things. And I'm bringing all this up because remember, this connects to past lives, immortality, reincarnation, tapping into that current. Because in essence, those are past lives. You might say, what the fuck are you talking about? They are past lives because they're one state or level of your existence that has run its course and burned itself out, quote unquote, to an extent, and you now transition to a new stage in your life. That's another aspect of reincarnation. There's the reincarnation in the now. There's the reincarnation in the past. That ties everything together here. I'm trying to make you see this to you understand and tie it all together. But anyway, let me get through this so we can build. But this is a good topic because you will see how this connects to your everyday work on this path. And this is one aspect of vampirism or that vampirism brings out. You understand? So I want people to see the totality of the spiritual path. Yes, there's the feeding, the absorption of energy. There's the sex magic or the sexual energy. All that is there. But I don't want it to look as if that's the only aspect of it. It's a very highly spiritual system that locks you in on a multitude of levels. All right. So we talked about all this came up because of the Akashic records. And what we just did there was access an aspect of our personal Akashic records, talking about our upbringing. what I'm saying is that's all connected to this shit. I'm telling you, it's a beautiful thing, man. The music, go back to it. If you missed that, you definitely want to go back and listen to that again. All right. But it is also a matter of predisposition as well. Some people have spent many years developing their own techniques before they could actually get any results. We were just talking about that. While some have past life vision since their early years and others can't access it at all to the information available in these subtle records. This is explaining the struggles and the differences of how some people are naturally locked in and get results right away. How people, like I said here, the author said, some people it takes years. So don't get frustrated when you've been at it just for a couple of months. Like, damn, it's not happening. Look, if you see this through, trust me when I tell you, and I've been on this path on a multitude of levels from where I came from back 20 plus years, and there's still shit that I'm learning. You understand? Be patient with yourself. If you are one of those people that are fortunate and you're gifted, and there are plenty of those people where you just connect automatically, power to you. I'm not speaking to those individuals. I'm speaking to the ones that get frustrated, that might struggle, that don't get the immediate results that they're looking for. You know what I'm saying? Don't get frustrated. Stay consistent, and that shit will start to transform and change. See, if you get frustrated and just say, fuck it, and stop, then, you know, that's on you. You know what I mean? Remember, the results and the things that you get out of this is that old saying. You know, you hear this all the time. What you put in is what you get out. That is so true. All right. All right. So things lived on past incarnations affect us all on many different levels. Now, in many circles, they do claim issues you struggle with in past lives do carry over into this life. They do affect you. I can attest to that personally from my own experiences. And I'm sure many of you others can too. You will find certain things that you struggle with, you do carry that over. And how do you know that? You're in your work, it's revealed and you're made aware. So that's what they mean when you hear in certain spiritual systems say, well, you keep coming here to master the shit you suck at. And I'm a firm supporter of that. And I'm only saying that based on my personal experience. Now, because I said that, I don't want you to accept that. I want you to do the work and come to the realization of that for yourself. Because again, as I said, we got to be careful when we talk about this topic, because getting the clarity and the answers you need on this topic doesn't just so much come from reading books, because remember, the author's given his experience here, doesn't just come from me telling you it. It comes from you doing the work and raising yourself up to the realization of that experience for yourself. That's how you know it becomes a reality or truth. So we want to make that clear. All right. All right. So it affects us all on many different levels, from a simple feeling of attraction towards one place, all right, to more complicated fears like traumas and phobias. Of course, this does not mean that everything related to this should be accepted as an influence from our ancient lives. However, these influences from past lives, I think I'm going to finish with this and then go to the questions. I think next week, I'll do a second part to this. I think we're going to have to do the Asetian Bloodlines next week, because that's going to take too long. And I want to go through that. I didn't realize I was going to be on this for this long. So I'm going to do the lineages and the bloodlines next week and focus just on that, because that's going to take some time. So we're going to finish with I'm almost done with this past life section. Then I'm going to go into the chat and take your questions and your comments and build, because it'll take way too long. So I just want you guys to, if I don't get to it, don't say why I didn't get to it. I know time. It's going to be, I didn't realize it was going to be this long. So I'm going to finish with this, and I will tap into the bloodlines. All right. All right. So from a simple feeling of attraction towards one place to more complicated fears like traumas and phobias. Of course, this does not mean that everything related to this should be accepted as an influence from our ancient lives. However, these influences from past lives affect even more intensely an Asetian. In them, they manifest many times far more clearly than in the humankind. So when you start doing the work, you start to the realization and awareness just starts to naturally happen. You just start to tap in, right? All right. Since the Asetians have a thinner connection to life in the physical and a far more strengthened connection to their Akashic records as to their own very personal divine nature, Sometimes particular people and situations bring forth a feeling of connection and recognition, awakening for old memories, even if only at an unconscious level. Many things in us that describe our ways of life, particularly after awakening, tend to reflect more ancient choices and likes from other lives, often associated with interests, talents, careers, occupations, and skills that we once possessed, right? Here's a quote from Chang Tzu. Birth is not a beginning. Death is not an end. There is existence without limitation. There is continuity, without a starting point. Existence without limitation is space. Continuity without a starting point is time. All right. The high importance of past life work to the modern day Asetian is something easily understood. While much information nowadays can be accessed with the Aset Ka internal text, or members in contact with any other awakened Asetian, most of the validation of new material can only be done with regression-based techniques and intuitive induction. Also, this is the most correct way of procedure when we need to confirm old theories arises. One of the most common procedures developed inside the Aset Ka order and uses in the case of validation of past life work is what we call triangulation. This technique that involves regressive, intuitive, and magical work from 3 different Asetian elders. Well, this is from the order, so I'm going to skip this. I'm not really so much here to promote that. You can read that on your own time. All right, the last paragraph. The past is what we are. We are here today just because of it. All we represent is condensed in what we have already lived. We are affected by everything we have gone through and experienced. It's very important to listen to. Not only in this life, but also in all of the others before it. I'm going to read that again. You must understand and reflect on this throughout the whole period in this lifetime in your work. Let me say it again. The past is what we are. The past is what we are. We are here today just because of it. All we represent is condensed in what we have already lived. We are affected by everything we have gone through and experienced, not only in this life, but also in all the others before it. Even though remembrance of our past life is important for a better understanding of our path and reasons to be here, it is not essential for us to be able to take advantage of our incarnation's background, since it is always there despite whatever we remember we lived. So we have learned. All right. So I'm going to stop there. If you have the book, before I go into the questions, next week I would suggest you read the Asetian Bloodlines, which is chapter 4, the whole chapter. The serpent, the lineage of the Viperines, the scorpion, lineage of the guardians, and the scarab, the lineage of the concubines. We're going to go into detail with that. They all take on a strong representation of personal work and connects it to that Asetian bloodline. All right. So having said that, I hope this sparks some type of questions. We're going to go to the chat. Again, if you just recently typed a question in, be patient. I will get to you. I'm going to go to the top. Wow. It looks like we got some decent questions. All right. Looks like. All right. Peace and greetings. If I ain't greet you, peace to everybody in the room. Again, good to see Amy here. Been a minute, Amy. Don't know if your number's still the same, but shoot me a text if you ever back down this way. Be good to see you again. Peace to everybody else. Abode of Sun Moon. I'm in Blackstone. I said peace to Duma, Matthew, Sister Trina Hart, peace. Timothy Williams, Maeve, Mama Mawete. Where's my boy David, man? All right. So, all right. If you see the comment that Manny typed in earlier, we were talking about the book. Okay, the book, again, Asetian Bible by Louis Marquez. He got another book out called Liber Orion. Another book I would suggest. Don't get this book on Amazon. You're going to get robbed. Okay, I'm going to say it again if you came into the room late. Get the book on barnesandnoble.com. It's $25. All right. Real quick, if you came in late, I mentioned the ritual / working for this month. November 30th will be the Black Mass and the Eternal Word of Set ritual. We will be doing the Black Mass of Set and performing also all 19 parts of the Eternal Word of Set. That will be the final ritual for this year. We will take a break in December, reconvene in January. We got some good shit planned for next year. We got some shit coming up with the Holy Death beginning early next year. Some stuff we're working on right now. I'll touch on that later. We're going to have a big voodoo ritual. More than likely, that'll be February. We'll touch on that a little later when we get closer to that time. I know some of you signed up for this Saturday, starting online classes. The winter session, it's going to run 6 weeks. It's going to start this Saturday and end at the end of December. There are a couple, I think 3 more spots left in the room. And again, if I can work with you on payment, those that know me, I work with you. I'm not a stickler with that. The next session, people have also emailed me. Next session will be in the spring. I'm looking to do that end of March going into April. All right. For any information on that or spiritual consultations or readings, I typed the email in earlier. The email is in the description box of all the videos, khnum19@gmail.com. All right. So again, get that book on barnesandnoble.com. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah. Papa Nieves. I'm looking for him. I texted him earlier. He said he was going to be in here. He's probably busy. But we'll build. All right. Peace to Breathtaking 83. Gilberto Martinez. What's going on, brother? Good to see you here. Shaquana McDowell. Peace. Gilberto. I recently started. All right, here we go. So it looks like Gilberto typed in the first. Gilberto says, I recently started to do some major work on myself. That's good. I'm starting with giving up cigarettes and drinking soda. Good. That's a good choice. It may seem like something trivial to some, but they really bring me down. You know what? I'm glad you bring something up like this, Gilberto. That's part of this path, perfecting yourself and self-mastery. It starts there. And again, that is not trivial. It's not minute. To maybe some, it might be to somebody that don't struggle with it, but it's little things like that. I always mention habits, addictions, food, improper decisions on food. All of those things affect your spirituality because cigarettes, nicotine, caffeine, that can calcify your pineal gland. There was a video I did a while back, diet and exercise on the left-hand path. I had to take some videos down. There's a reason why, not because of YouTube or any violations. I'll explain that another time. I'm not sure if that one is still up. I had to rotate some of them. But it's very important because shit like that can calcify your pineal gland. It can affect your spirituality. It can affect your concentration. Tobacco, nicotine. I know a lot of people that struggle with that struggle to have a good focused meditation. They not only meditation, they can't even just focus and concentrate because as we know, nicotine, caffeine, sugar, those really are intoxicants. They're drugs and the system can become dependent on it. So the fact that you can recognize that that's holding you back, that's step one. And then taking the initiative to do something about it, obviously, is step 2. So that's a good thing. And you go on to say it has been affecting you so much lately. Now is the time. I've already started reaping the benefits, and we'll do something bigger next. Look, I always tell people one of the key successes on this path: set goals for yourself. I'm not saying don't have long-term goals. You heard me talk about this. Well, start setting a bunch of short-term goals for yourself because your confidence and your momentum starts to build up when you start knocking out all these short-term goals. You know where you get frustrated and disappointed? Some people set these unrealistic long-term goals, and then when they don't achieve it, they get frustrated and pissed off, and they start quitting and giving up on themselves. So it's always good to start attacking the direct things that affect you first that you're trying to fix about yourself. So create a bunch of short-term goals. Knock them out. You start feeling successful. You start feeling good about yourself. You get momentum building and it starts to expand, grow, and it leads to bigger and better things. Trust me when I tell you. And I'm using Gilberto's example that he's starting with those direct things. Those are very tangible, direct things that he's identified that affect him on a daily basis. That's real. You understand? And that's what this path is about. It's not, again, this is why I was saying earlier, some people go to super spookyville, but they don't got the basic things in their life in order. Now, again, I'm not saying that there's never going to be a point where everything is 100% peachy fucking keen and you ain't got no problems. That is not a reality. That's in an illusionary world. But you can create a system where your problems do not consume you. You're in control. You are set controlling a pep or the chaos, where a pep or the chaos is not controlling you or dictating to you. That's what it's about. So shouts out to you, Brother Gilbert. That's good. I'm glad. That's good to hear. That's real work in real time. All right. Peace, Brother Jack. Jay Jizzle in the building. El Sheba Sekhmet, greetings. Our melanated nation. Yvette, peace, Sister Yvette. Doing all right. Okay, let's see what else we got. Okay, my friend typed in, I like your cross. Is it a cross? What do you call it? No, it's not a cross in the sense of, and I'm not saying that's the perspective you were coming, not what we would know as a Christian cross, because what we know as the modern day Christian cross comes from what they call the Ankh, and the Greek Tao cross, T-A-U, came out of the Ankh, and the Christian cross comes out of the Greek Tao cross, which branched into a bunch of other symbols such as the Celtic cross, etc. But long story short, it would be what you call an Ankh. Now, you probably can't see the detail on it. It's not just a regular Ankh. It's what we call Vampiric Ankh. If you look at it close, it's actually a sword. I know you can't see it because it's probably too small. That's the side of the handle of the daggers. That would be the handle. And then you have it. That's really a knife shaped into an Ankh. It's a vampiric symbol of immortality. And understand, when you see Ankhs in different spiritual systems, you'll see different designs of it. They take on different meanings and different learning systems and certain quote unquote spiritual mysteries. But over and all, it would be what we call, or what people would know on the surface as the Egyptian Ankh, which takes on many different meanings, masculine and feminine energy. Some will give you that breakdown. Eternal life, some will give you that. Some say if you turn it to the side, it represents the key or the doorway to eternal life. Many different meanings. Now, if you're a Mason and you're asked to travel, it takes on a different meaning. If you're in some of these esoteric and occult orders, it takes on a higher meaning. You're going to find out symbols vary in different degrees depending on the spiritual system or philosophy and how they're used in those spiritual systems or philosophies. So even for an example, if you take the Star of David, right? People think that the origin of that just has its origin in Judaism, and that's not true. The Judaic star, or what we know as a six-pointed star, was first seen and recorded on the Sumerian temples in Babylon. That's where the Jews got it from. And when the Torah was first compiled, and you do your research and your history, when you read, for an example, the chronology during the time of the book of Ezra, where they left captivity in Babylon and came back into Jerusalem to rebuild Solomon's temple, that's when what we know as the Torah, or the first 5 books of Moses, was officially put together, when they started compiling it. Because your creation stories that you read in Genesis come off those Babylonian walls. And in those designs and architecture on the Babylonian temples, you'll see that 6-pointed star. That's where they got it from. Don't believe me. Look it up for yourself. And don't get, if you are religious, I'm not talking about the person that asked the question, I'm just speaking in general. If you are religious and you're watching this video or you watch the recording of it later, don't get mad, don't get upset. I'm not telling you to agree with what I'm saying. I'm saying look into it first before you draw your conclusions. Remember, what I said earlier is people tend to get pissed off when, they hear information that don't line up with their personal ideology. So again, I know this branched off into other areas, but do that research and you'll see a lot of the shit that we were fed on the surface usually was taken from somewhere that predated it by thousands upon thousands of years. All right. Peace, Stuffed Dog. Yvette. All right. So Yvette got a question. All right. So when you contact your daemon, it will help strip away the false you to reveal the real you. Most definitely. If that is the case, then I'm sure the road to the true self is filled with a lot of challenges. It's filled with never-ending challenges. So I'm gonna enhance that. The reason why I say that, remember, you should always challenge yourself on this path. because being challenged keeps you sharp. It doesn't, you don't become complacent. You don't get lazy. When you start getting comfortable is when you get complacent and lazy. When you start getting in a mundane, regular routine, not a routine in the sense where it's bringing about change and challenges, but just you go through the motions, as they say. You start to become, you just do it because you're comfortable with it. You never. So yes, contacting your personal demon most definitely is going to bring the challenges, because when it strips away the illusionary you, not only does it bring up the great things about yourself, and not so there's another side to it. It's also going to make you aware of a lot of the strengths and challenges. Strengths and talents that you didn't know you had. So there's a good side to that. But in addition to those quote unquote positive things, there's going to be some drama you have to deal with. And once you take that drama, deal it, address it, and overcome those challenges, it becomes your strength now. That's the key. So definitely, we'll make that clear. Sister Amy types in, OMG, so true. All right. So I gave the book. I know you typed that question in earlier, Stuff Dog, but again, for those maybe came in late and didn't see it or just came in, Asetian Bible by Luis. Some say Lewis. We say Luis Marquez. All right. We're going to be using this for probably a couple more weeks because there's so much shit to go over in here. I could be on this for a minute. But a great book if you're on this path. And if you said to me, what's a great book recommend to read, this would definitely be one of them I throw at you. Most definitely. All right. Okay. All right. So Mujahid or Mujahad, 72, peace. I'm on peace. Everybody. He types, listening to music in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, studying a lot of history, dance like rock dance. It's Brooklyn style. I forgot, Mujahid. Yeah, you definitely into the music. So I know you can connect to what I was talking about earlier. And I like how you use the term studying a lot of the history. See, a real person, and whether it's music, hip hop culture, breakdancing, graffiti, the arts, if you want to call it for lack of a better word, a true person that's really, really integrated with that, studies it, learns the history. And because as we said, how I look at music defines generations of culture, right? Genres of music identify with generations of culture and different people. And that's why music is such a powerful tool, because it's a tool of expression where messages can be communicated on a multitude of levels. And it's very transformative. And that's my experience with music. I love music. I'm constantly playing it in my car. I just love music. You know what I mean? And all types. I mean, yeah, I have my favorite genres, R&B, hip hop, especially old school classic hip hop, but I love classic rock. I'm not really into the new shit and all that thrash metal shit. I'm not knocking it. If that's your thing, never was. I like Pink Floyd, Blue Oyster Cult, Led Zeppelin, old Rolling Stones, some other groups that come to mind, old Black Sabbath, classic shit like that I can listen to. Pink Floyd, that's some good. And don't get into this thing because you're melanated, you can't listen to rock. Fuck that old stereotype bullshit. And there's a lot of people on a slide always like the rock. They pretend, I'm not supposed to listen to that. Fuck that. I listen to all types of shit. But if you said what era of rock music that I like, really only the 70s, some 60s, but 70s. Now you can go back to a lot of the black artists that were the real rock musicians. When you go back, to the early, even rhythm and blues, old blues. You can go back to during them times when you talk about the innovators of rock music. But if you gave me a time frame like Led Zeppelin, man, I know everybody's heard of them, but if you've never listened, like Stairway to Heaven, go listen to some of the shit that they were dropping. Some deep shit in there. Listen to the music. Go look at some of the album covers, man. There were so many symbolic messages in those things. And if you're one of those motherfuckers, that's all devil worship, you just spook the fuck out. You don't get it. I mean, go back and listen to this. And I mentioned another group earlier, I only mentioned the one song, ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, Telephone Line, but go look at some of their album covers and some of their music. So I listen to all types of shit. I told you, I think I mentioned one time before, sometimes my spirit's in the mood to listen to Gregorian chorale music. And I know that comes from one of the spirits I have that's a spiritual monk. Sometimes I listen to that old Gregorian chant music. That's some heavy shit when you sit down and zone in on it. You understand? I listen to all that shit, man. Music is the ultimate communicator in the universe. Trust me when I tell you that. Music tells a story in itself, from the tones, the sounds, and the vibration to the rhythm and the instruments, and to the messages that are constantly being communicated. It's a powerful fucking tool. But I'm glad to hear you put it in that perspective, Mujahid. Black Quartz says, how would I integrate the demonic self? Well, a good book to refer you to give you an example. The Black Ship by Malthus. I've mentioned that book a bunch of times throughout videos over the last year or two. There's a ritual in there to activate and integrate yourself with your personal daemon. Now, you don't have to do it the exact way. There's certain elements of the rituals, certain oils that are used, certain incense and fragrances that are used, and a certain ritualistic method to actually manifest your personal daemon, literally manifest it and reveal itself to you. And there's certain techniques you use. Now, the techniques is the thing I would focus on in the book. The methodology and the format, that's something you can be creative and change. So what you would want to do, step one, is create a personal working to first have your personal daemon revealed to you and to access it. And the techniques in that book, without having to go through it in depth, because that would be time consuming, that would be my recommendation to you, Black Quartz. I would look for that book. You can get it on Amazon. If you have Scribed app, it's actually free on Scribed. Again, the book is called The Black Ship, and the author is Malthus. I believe it's spelled Malphus, if I'm not mistaken. All right. But just type in The Black Ship. It'll come right up. All right. So El Sheba segment. I came to find out I was always tapped in and didn't know. I started asking for confirmation of my thoughts. And surely enough, I am gypsy. Well, that's what my great grandmother called me. So, okay, you got a gypsy spirit, or what we like to say in 21 divisions and spiritism, Gitana. Sister Mandy, Mama Muerte's got a serious Gitana spirit. And Gitana or gypsy spirits are very unique because, let me tell you, and I've dealt and worked with a lot of them over the years. And it's funny you bring that up, because at the last ritual 2 weeks ago, and Sister Mandy, Mama Muerte, was there. She traveled from Jersey with her husband. As soon as we began the ritual we were doing, they're spirits that like to make themselves known. And as soon as that ritual started, that Gitana or gypsy spirit manifested itself. And I mean, she could explain it. Well, I'm like, well, it'd be a little time consuming to get into the depths of it. But gypsy spirits are very diverse. When I mean diverse, some of them well, first and foremost, understand this. You know, you have a gypsy spirit, you constantly, they like to move around, not just physically. They like to be all over the place. They like to be involved in a lot of things. They're very energetic, moving spirits. When I say moving, they like to be involved in everything. They usually have or tapped in psychically with intuition, clairvoyance, spiritual gifts. It's usually a normal thing to come with Gitana spirits, right? They're usually highly sexual in nature. You'll find that now, again, you have to understand there's different gypsy spirits. You have some of those spirits that come from what we know as Eastern Europe. Then you have the ones that are real powerful, not saying that the others aren't, that come from the Northeast African region, Morocco, Egypt. Usually they tend to also, and I know a lot of Egyptian, Gitana spirits, and I would suggest it to you if you don't have that set up, you can create a shrine or altar for that spirit. They tend to usually like different colored scarves, put perfume and fragrance on them, the clappers, belly dancing type of implements. Anything that's affiliated, because especially those Egyptians, Gitano or Gypsy spirits from Northeast Africa, when they come through, that's usually the type of things they like to bring them through. They usually like the djembe sound of the drum, especially at the rituals when you're playing for them. That's that drum that has that, it looks like a glass or a plastic covering, not like the djembe that has the skin. You'll see us playing those in the videos, and that's usually for those type of spirits. But they are powerful spirits, and usually somebody that has that in their bloodline, and don't just necessarily have to be in their bloodline, it could be an ancestral spirit guide type of spirit. They can definitely be very helpful through the course of one's life when propagated to work with. They can assist you in many different areas of your life, be it financially, to solve certain difficulties you might be dealing with yourself and individuals, etc. In a good way. For that type of spirit, they like attention. There's a good if you go to the Botanic, they have something called Pompeii. It's like a perfume. And it's good for those spirits. If you get scarves, usually they like multicolored type of scarves or head wrappings. And if you put that perfume on them, it kind of enhances and brings that spirit out when you start working with it. And funny thing is, it's not just females that have that spirit. I know men over the years that actually have that spirit. I even watched them get mounted by a gypsy spirit and kind of go into a dance. Now, you got to understand, don't think that's odd. Because when you're dealing with that, you'll see that in that spiritual system. Don't matter if you're male or female. But anyway, that's a good thing. All right, Mama Muerte types in, spot on, big bro, with music and how legit it makes you time travel. Crazy, love it. No doubt. I mean, shit. You could do it in your car while you're riding to wherever you're going. Shit, I do it all the time. You could do that time travel thing. I've gotten locked in, so I don't even remember how I got from point A to point B. I don't even remember stopping at lights. I want to be careful. I say I want you to go zoned out. But yeah, man, when you lock in, because when you're really zoned into the very essence, when everything is clicking, it'll take you places, man. Some real shit. And as I was saying earlier, if you came in late, I'm telling you, create your list. Yeah, we all got music apps today with all this digital download shit. You could access, anything. I mean, I kind of miss the old days with the vinyl. The digital shit is good nowadays because it's fast. It's at our fingers. But man, it was not like back in the day going down to Jamaica Avenue, taking the train or the bus, and just going buying some good old fashioned vinyl, man. It's not like that feeling, that smell. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Nothing like getting the albums. And I remember back then when I was buying whole albums, vinyl, they were like $7.99 for a whole album back then, $6.99, $8.99. Nothing like back then when the singles came out. Remember the 12 inches? We used to go down by when it was real DJing, you remember the Techniques, the 1200s, you remember that back in the day, the two Technique turntables, and, you go down and buy the vinyl, the 12 inches, or our shit. Let me go back even further. Remember the 33s? And not the 33s, that's the vinyls, the big one. The 45s, remember we it's called them record players or Trolls. Remember, you used to stack your 45s and put the little thing on top, and one would drop, play it. After it was done, the needle would come off, boop, next one would drop, play it. Now I'm going back. But I remember when I got my first record player for Christmas, man. That was like one of the biggest things. That was probably the greatest gift I ever got, most expensive gift I ever got. For Christmas, all the years growing up. When I got my record player, my parents one year got me a record player. Man, you couldn't keep me out of my damn room. I couldn't wait till the weekend came, get on the bus or get on the train, go down to the spot, buy some new 45s or a 12-inch or a full vinyl album. Not like, getting the vinyl in the bag is, I can't explain it. You know what I mean? It's like a book, same thing. Not like having a hard copy of a book. See, the only thing I don't like about all this technology and digital shit, we've become disconnected from the human experience. To me, that was part of all the experience of it. The experience of it, what I mean back in the day when you were a kid, was making the journey to the record store. That was part of the experience, right? That was part of the hype, right? You couldn't wait to get there. Getting in the record store. You remember that feeling of going through the vinyl with your fingers? You remember that shit? You know what the fuck I'm talking about? You going, that smell. I could smell it as I'm doing it right now. The smell of the vinyl as you're flipping through the records, pulling them out, looking at them. getting all fucking googly eyed about which ones you were going to get. You remember taking the ones out, stacking them. There's the ones. I'm just telling you, that's my experience with it. I'm sure some of you have had similar. See, to me, that's what we lack in this day and age of this right here, which is a great thing. But unfortunately, this right here has become people's virtual reality. This is their illusionary world because this is what dictates and educates them on everything in life. You got to remember, back then, we couldn't pull up Google. Back then, we'd have to take our ass to a library or do some type of research or really have to go, on some type of mission to do work. Back then, you'd have to search for books, rare books. I mean, I still search and collect rare books, but I'm saying back then, we couldn't just get on Google and now you type in a topic, boom, you could access everything. There's free PDF files. Couldn't do that shit back then. Back then, that's why you had certain people who were good teachers that were able to access rare books. So, the upside is now we have access to everything. So nobody has an excuse to say they didn't know. Back then, remember, motherfuckers, if you wasn't on the internet, there really was no level of consciousness. It was small circles of groups back then. Now, everybody's motherfucking conscious. You got guru, you got internet magicians, internet occultists, internet comedic coons. I mean, you name it. This is the illusionary world. This is the world. And these new millennials, I ain't knocking them because I got an older son that's a millennial. But he was raised in this. So he's not your average millennial. But these quote unquote as a whole, these millennials today, this is their world. They so fucking lazy. You got Grubhub now. Motherfuckers don't even want to go out to get their food at all no more. Fast food. They don't even want to go out to get fast food. Everybody wants everything to their doorstep. The problem with that to me is it eliminates the human experience. Remember when a kid, let's be fucking real. Let's keep it real for a minute. You remember back in the day, think about when you were a kid and it was rare because most of the time food was made in the house. You didn't really eat out a lot back then. It was rare. But you remember the once in a while trip back in the days where you take a trip to Mickey D's? That was a big thing going to McDonald's when you was a kid. It's a big fucking thing. I know that ain't shit today, but it was not because it was the human experience of it, right? And that human experience was fulfilling. It was getting in the car, going with your mother or your father or your friends, right? That was a big thing. That's when we were 12, 13. Yo, man, let's walk down to Mickey D's. Or yo, here's $3. Let's go to the pizza spot. I remember you get a slice of pizza, an Italian icy, and a soda. All that for under $3. That was a big thing. And once in a while, when my mother could afford it, that was huge. She could hang you $2.50. I know that sounds trivial now in 2018 because them days is gone. But remember, what did it say in that last paragraph, right? Let me refresh your memory. If you missed the very last sentence, let me refresh, all right? I think it was page 71. And that's why I read it twice. No, 73. The past is what we are. We are here today just because of it. All we represent is condensed in what we have already lived. We are affected by everything we have gone through and experienced. So I'm doing what this is saying right now. That's why I read that part twice. Not only in this life, but also in all others before it. This is a reality. This is real. All right. So yeah, music is, man, I can't stress it enough, man. Like I say, man, I couldn't wait till Friday came, Saturday, and the weekend came. If it wasn't basement parties, backyard parties. So like I said, back then, we didn't really, we did the club thing here and there, but back then it was about basement parties, house parties, backyard parties in the summer. You know what I mean? That's how we got down and have fun, man. That's what we did. And it was nothing like going to the record store, finding some new joints for the weekend. I remember when Biz Markie's album first came out. That was one of the hottest singles in 86, Make the Music With Your Mouth, the extended version. Man, you pop that shit on, people be rocking to that shit for 25, 30 minutes straight. Just the beat alone. You know what I mean? It's just how it was back then. That's how we had fun. Now, forget it, man. Now you got these fake-ass DJs. They don't even got turntables no more. You don't even got to be good to be a DJ now. Now all you got to do is have these a computer, right? A laptop, and everything's programmed to these little fucking wheels they got, and they're not even doing. There's no skills. That's not DJing. Like I said, I mentioned. I think I posted a clip of it from a few months back. I posted a clip of it back in when was that? A few months ago, earlier in the year. I think it was around March, or it might have been May. I'm sorry, it was May. It was May. They had the Godfathers of Hip Hop tour came down here. I posted some clips of it. You guys might have seen it. They had Rakim. They had Das Effects, Mr. Cheeks, Dougie Fresh. Well, anyway, Das Effects DJ tore that shit up. When I say he did everything from old school DJs to present DJs, tore it up. And that's an art form that's almost non-existent in the culture now. It's very rare. Now you got these old fucking self-professed, self-made, computerized DJs and shit. They got a laptop and these two little cornball looking, whatever the fuck that shit is. It's comical, man. All right. So Ghetto Sorcerer types in, I spend time daily detaching my mind from all illusions, be it my name, wife, kids, jobs, life, etc., and just live as existence itself. I observe life without giving it any meaning. Okay, and if that's a methodology, that's good. If that's a methodology that works for you, and that's what this path is about: finding methods, spiritual practices, or things that work for you. And if that works for you and that gives you some type of spiritual growth, that's a beautiful thing. All right, what else we got? Okay, and then Ghetto Sorcerer types in, with that freedom, it allows me to program my mind how, and that's a good point. That's an excellent point. That's a good way. So notice and again, I'm glad to see people do it. Notice you have a methodology, you address it via the methodology, but then you follow it up with a technique, quote unquote, or a solution, or that methodology creates a solution, right? And you say, with that freedom, it allows me to program my mind how I please and project any reality of my choosing. Good. Experience it as you speak. That's true. Mama Muerte touched him. I must die before you can truly live. Posted that with a sick pic earlier. Definitely been my recent mood. Yeah. And it's good you say that, recent mood. You're going to find as you travel this path, you'll constantly have vibrations or moods or vibes, as we say. You'll be vibing with certain things because the spirit starts to dictate where you need to go. It'll start showing you the areas of work you need to do. And sometimes you'll stay locked in a certain aspect of work for a period of time. The spirit will let you know, okay, that's complete. It's time to move on to something else. And that's how you know you're locked in, when you're constantly, when that question came up earlier about challenges, when you're constantly challenging yourself. And the challenge of that is constantly changing and evolving and embracing the experience. So that's a beautiful thing too. Yes, and another good comment by Brother Gilberto Martinez. You got to know when to let go as well when it comes to family. So true. Sometimes the hardest thing to say is no. You understand? In a lot of things in life, especially with family, right? And I notice a lot of people have a lot of self-created problems because they haven't learned the concept. And I deal with this a lot with my clients in spiritual consultations. And they'll say, yeah, I got myself in this jam and this happened with that, with a family member. I say, couldn't you have just said no? And then they stop and pause. Because I always like to catch people with simple, basic shit, because sometimes they start to find out that they're the ones that made it more complicated than it actually was. But I can especially say one of the reasons is a letting go of aspect of family. Like you say, Gilberto, letting go is sometimes just saying no. I'm not going to deal with your bullshit all the time, or I'm not going to give in to your every need. Or because there's always the drama. There's always that one or two or a few individuals in the family that drama follows them everywhere. Then you got the other family member that's broke as fuck all the time, constantly hitting you up, looking for handouts, right? I could run down a list of them. We all got these in our family. Then you got the bitter and quarreling family that don't get along, brothers and sisters. They talk shit about each other. They mad about each other, this or that, vice versa. I mean, I could be here all day. We all got one of them in our family, some shape, form, or fashion, right? We know this. Then we got Then we got the one that, deadbeat, can't keep a job, but yet popping out kids. I mean, I can go through all the character types. We all got one of them or some of them in the family. And that's why sometimes, letting go, just got to say no. I ain't going to deal with the bullshit. And sometimes saying no or letting go is even to your own children. Sometimes that tough love, you got to get them. You got to let them go. You got to let them experience shit on their own. You got to let them go through their trials and errors and their trials and tribulations, because that's the only way they're going to learn. And there's an old saying, sometimes the best way to help somebody is don't help them at all. Because sometimes people can mistake your kindness for weakness. So yes, you must be aware of that. But good point. Okay. AP says I can relate with the family shit. No doubt. I'm sure we all can on some level. I don't think anybody has, unless you're one of the few rare people, but I don't think anybody has a perfect family on that. I don't think there's such a thing that exists. I don't think there's no such thing as perfect. We're striving to be perfect. I'm in agreement with that, because if we were perfect or we had perfect families, none of us would be here seeking knowledge and information. None of us would be on any of these paths trying to figure it out. See, people get confused with being perfect or I am perfect, etc., with I'm striving to be perfect. Even when we say we're a god or a goddess, that doesn't mean we're perfect and fallible and we don't make mistakes and we don't have shortcomings. If you think that shit, you're completely fucking stupid. That's not true. As gods and goddesses, we strive for perfection. And in striving for that perfection, there will be hardships. There will be struggles. There will be challenges. You will deal with bullshit. Prepare yourself for that. Don't create this illusion because you made this self-declaration and put on some Egyptian attire or African attire or some cultural attire and said, I'm a god or a goddess, that makes you infallible or that makes you obsolete from the bullshit. You're not really grounded in reality if you think that. I'm going to tell you this, and I've mentioned this before in the past. The more knowledge you gain and the more you grow on the path, the more difficult it becomes. It doesn't get easier. Because with that knowledge and that growing mentally becomes responsibility. The responsibility in knowing how to take that information and utilize it. You now have a responsibility. One, to yourself first and foremost, but to also share that information when need be or when you see fit to. Not to convert people, because we don't do that on this path. But there will be times where it is your responsibility, such as now. I do these videos because I feel it's my responsibility to share this information with people, right? But at the same token, my intent is not to convert nobody over to anything, because I also understand the reality is people are going to do whatever the fuck they want to do. If somebody changes or comes on this path, it's because they decided to. Yeah, you might have the influence in assisting them in that, but at the end of the day, you didn't convert them. They made the conscious decision. You might have influenced them. See, I laugh at people say, yeah, I bring this brother into the information. I convert. You might have influenced him or her into the information. You didn't convert them to shit. They came to the realization, because the only time change comes about in an individual is when they make the decision consciously for that change. We understand that on this path. So with that knowledge and that growing, it doesn't get easier. People think, as you get more experience and you get older and you've been on this path for years, it gets easier. Bullshit. If you think that, it gets even more complicated and more difficult. But you know what? I embrace that difficulty. I embrace those challenges because I love it. It's what keeps me sharp. It's what keeps me on my toes. It's what keeps me growing, because I don't never know what to expect or what's lurking over the horizon. And the beauty of that is it keeps me sharp. It keeps me focused. It keeps me aware. I want to get up every day and do the same rigmarole, the same mundane ass shit. I don't want to do that. If I do want to do that, I might as well go back into the church or be a Muslim or go into some Kemetic group. I'm just saying. It just don't make no sense. All right. All right. Goldust says the same age, you can relate. Yeah, if you're in my group, 47, this past June 10th, just turned 47. So a lot of the shit that I'm talking about earlier about music and growing up, I'm coming from that era. So if you're from that era, you can connect. If you're much younger, recent, you may not be able to connect with that. If you're a cell phone baby, you ain't gonna be able to connect with that. Shit. Speaking of that, think about. I'm sorry, my mind just keep wandering. Think about when we didn't have this. We had no. I'm even going back before beepers. Remember, we had the old rotary phone in the house. The only time you used the phone was in the house. Think about how. Let me show you how fucked up people can become dependent and programmed with something. If you're my age or older, you can reflect back in a time before these even existed, and we got through life fine on a daily basis without this. Why is it now some people have there's a thing I read online not too long ago. They have a disease called cell phone phobia, but there's a disease where people can't function if they leave the house or forget their phone at home. They can't function. This is how dependent we've become on this. Well, if you're my age or older, reflect back on we lived our lives on a daily basis with no need of this. And you know what? The human experience was more intact because now you get motherfuckers, they in the same room and they texting each other and they in the same room at the same function, same event. Just goes to show you how this has become their virtual reality. This is what I'm saying. We functioned fine back then without these. We got through our days fine without these. The only communication we had was with a house phone if you were lucky enough to have one, right? Rotary or push button phone. That was our highest form of communication, and you weren't even on that a lot. Only when need be. The only time I got on the phone with friends, called my boys, say, "Hey man, let's meet down over here," and that was it. You hung up the phone. All right, then the beepers came in, the pages, but still, then the shit went off. You had to go to a payphone, right? Just go to show you how it changed. But how? Let me give you an example. As quick as they introduced this and made us become dependent on it, is as quick as we could put it down and not need it. Okay, we don't think so because what makes us think we're dependent on is how they promote it, how they pump it up. We've just as quick gotten adapted to this, just like if it's, sliced bread. That's how dependent we become on the shit. But yeah, it's crazy. All right. Okay, Rakia Moore says, my birthday is June 10th, and you got the best birthday on the planet because mine is too. So Gemini babies rule. So that's good. Hey, all right, cool. You got the same. I'll tell you, I said earlier, my older sister's June 9th. So yeah, June 10th. Actually, I think you're the first person I ever met at the same time. I'm sure there's plenty of people have a birthday on June 10th, but I personally ain't never ran into nobody that had the same birthday. That's pretty cool. All right, what else we got? Kendrick, when I was talking about the food stamps, the funny money, right? If you came in late, we were talking earlier about, if you remember, again, if you're my age or older, or if you're around my age or older, remember, before there were no EBT cards back then. You know what I'm saying? There was funny money. They were actually food stamps. It looked like when I was a kid, like I said, when I first saw it, it looked like foreign money. If you saw some foreign money from another country, it looked like some form of paper currency. Yeah, you get a booklet of them, right? If you were on food stamps back in the day, they get mailed to the house, and it would come in a book, and you would rip them out the book. If you know what the fuck I'm talking about, if you're my age. So I remember, the first one, probably the first time I saw my mother at the checkout pay, I asked my brother, that little kid, man, I don't remember how old I was, about small, maybe 5-ish. I don't know, 6, I might have been a little whatever. And I remember asking my mother, like, yo, what's that funny money you paying? Because it didn't look like the green money that I was used to seeing. And back then, parents explained, obviously, when you got older, you knew you was on welfare, food stamps, whatever. But back then, they didn't feel the need that it was important for us to know at that time. All we needed to know that shit paid for food and put it on the motherfucking table, right? But yeah, that's that funny money, man. I still call it that today. But now it's funny. They got the EBT card. Everything's electronic. And I mentioned earlier, it kills me how some people don't want you to see it. Discreetly go up. Oh, yeah, that's, it is what it is, man. Oh, shit. Gilberto says, damn, I've heard that before. My mom used to give us our allowance and food stamps. Wow. Now, I'll be honest with you, my whole entire life. That's good. That's creative. My parents here and there would give us a few dollars. I mean, I never really had a set allowance. I always hustled back then. If it was like the time of the season, like in New York, if it was the fall, you could rake leaves. In wintertime, you could shovel people's property, make some dough. You know what I'm saying? Summertime, mowing lawns. I used to hustle money doing that shit. Had a paper route. I mean, they'll throw you back if you're my age or older. Before, and everything's digital. There's still newspapers still exist, but they're becoming non-existent. Before you had the dude that drove around in a car and threw them on your front porch, you had the motherfucker that rode the bike. I had the fucking bike with the 3 baskets back in the day. Y'all remember that shit? The big one in the front, the 2 on the side. I used to deliver. I had 2 paper routes, matter of fact, from 7th to 8th grade all throughout high school. I was delivering the daily news in the morning. Right, let me show you this shit. As a young kid back then, used to get up before school started. And would deliver the daily news early in the morning. Be up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, do my paper out before school. Then I'd get out of school and deliver the New York Newsday after school. I'd ride my bike. We used to pick them up at a spot that was like 3 blocks from my high school. And then I'd pick up my papers after school, and then I'd do another afternoon route. And then here's the fucked up part about it back then. Then every weekend you had to go what we call collecting. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. If you're my age and you had a paper route. These kids don't understand what the fuck it is to work, to get out there and hustle. I used to have to knock on everybody's door at the end of the week and collect the money. Paperboy collecting the paper money. Christmas time used to get a lot of tips. You know what I mean? $5, $10. Times that if you had a route with 30, 40 customers, that's a lot of money for a young little kid. That's how we got down. We used to hustle. I did all that shit, paper routes, worked off the book at supermarkets. I'd be here all day talking about all that shit. But yeah, man, fucking, you found ways back then to hustle. The time of the year usually dictated what your hustle was. Then that translated when I got older out on the streets. That was a whole nother story. But anyway, you get the point. El Sheba segment types in a stack and Monopoly money. That's what I thought. You know what? You're right. The food stamps did kind of look like that, even though the Monopoly money was a little small. You just knew it was some type of funny money. I remember first seeing it. It's like, as I'm talking about it now, it was in ShopRite. I remember right on Hempstead Turnpike. I remember clear as day. And I remember being at the checkout. And it's fucked up. I could see it and know what was right behind it when we were checking out. You guys might remember this if you're from that area. And if you're my age, remember the big, tall plastic stand with all the plastic kickballs in it? Remember that shit? The multicolored kickballs. We used to buy them shits and use them to play kickball out on the street. You know what the fuck I'm talking about if you're from back then in the areas. I remember them kickballs, man. I begged my mother for months to finally get me one. They were only like $1.19, but shit, that was a lot of money. Ain't gonna give them $2 in food stamps to get no motherfucking kickball. Well, you couldn't use food stamps for the kickball, but you weren't gonna pay for it with cash. But you know what I mean. The plastic fucking kick, especially when it was windy, right? It was always trying to kick the things high in the air and shit. Right? You remember the Super Balls, right? I know you guys remember the Super Balls used to get in the supermarkets and fucking you throw them bounce like 400 feet in the air. Remember Jacks? Remember that shit? We used to play Jacks, little fucking games used to get in the corner stores, paddle ball, all that shit, man. They ain't got that shit no more. Maybe they do. I ain't never seen that shit no more. Remember the Super Pinky Balls? Right? We used to use the Super Pinky Balls to play stick ball sometimes. That and the little handballs. You know what I mean? All that shit, man. Wiffle ball bats. Go down to the corner store, buy a wiffle ball bat or the stick ball. We used to make our own stick ball bats sometimes with broomsticks. This shit, man. Like I said, I miss them days, man. What I would give, knowing what I know now, shit, I would love to experience that again and going through them things as a kid, man. See, the thing is, back then we created games, we played, we actually went outside, right, and played. These fucking kids don't want to do nothing. They don't want to sit on the fucking couch. Like fucking robots. They don't even interact with people no more. That's how disconnected they become. Back then, we used to play Ringalivio. I don't know if these were geographical type games, but I can only talk about shit we did. Remember Run, Catch, and Kiss, RCK? We used to play with all the girls in the neighborhood, Run, Catch, and Kiss, right? Hide and Seek, right? Fuck have running bases. That's the shit we used to play in the streets in New York, running bases. 2 people catching, and everybody get in the middle, and we throw the ball, and you have to get to one of the bases. But Man, that's some fun fucking time. We created these are games we played as kids. Fuck, what fucking games these kids got now? Everything is fucking online. They ain't even creative no more. You know what I mean? Shit. Yeah. It's a whole nother story. Yeah. That's high school. Yeah, right. I guess it was in common when I was talking about high school. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my high school years. I mean, I played baseball all 4 years, football for 3 of those 4 years until my baseball coach didn't want me playing football no more for aforementioned reasons. Got talked into playing soccer for 2 years because my baseball coach was a soccer coach, and my school soccer wasn't popular. It was mostly blacks, Puerto Ricans, and there was some Chinese, some white, but just soccer at that time. I know it's a big sport now, but soccer, when I went to school, 86 to 89, I graduated in 89. And put it this way, soccer was so unpopular in my school, we didn't even have enough of people to filter like a JV and or a freshman team. We only had a varsity team. Everybody played varsity, and we sucked ass. I got tricked into my baseball coach. Yeah, well, we just need you to dress to qualify. Well, I wound up playing every game for 2 years. Wasn't my thing, but I did it just to help my coach out. But yeah, man, I played baseball, football, soccer, basketball. I suck at. I ain't going front. Just wasn't my thing. I could play defense, but I just wasn't my thing. I used to get eaten up on the court. So I ain't never played basketball in high school, even though our high school probably had at that time one of the best teams in the state. We'd go to state every year. We would go far in the finals. We won it 2 of the 4 years I was there, but we always went far in the playoffs. That's what our school was known for: basketball and football, and baseball probably third. Baseball, we were okay. We weren't great. We had some good years, but not like basketball. Soccer, fuck. God. Coach Arbiter, that fucking seed, bro. Made me play that shit for 2 years. That's a little thing. Power to you. I mean, I like actually when my son plays now. So my little guys, that's his thing. So I'm into it now. Just wasn't into it back then. Ain't going front. All right. Oh, so Gold U47 too. Cool. Yeah, that's true, Gilberto. Yeah, that's another thing. Oh, shit. Now you're going to make me talk about the snacks, the corner store snacks. Brother Gilberto says, shit, we used to hit the corner store and be big on balls on the snacks. Oh, let me throw some throwbacks now. Now I don't know you at the store. You remember RCA colas? Remember the little small bottles, right? They used to have the 50-cent bottles, 25-cent bottles, the quarter waters. Or remember them little drinks that came in a plastic that you peel the top off? That shit was probably pure sugar in a bottle. Then shit, you can think of, all the little bag snacks. Man, fucking, even the different candies we used to eat, man. The fucking, the dipsticks. What the fuck was that shit? Basically, it was a bag of powdered sugar. You dip the white stick in it. Jawbreakers. Bubblegum cigarettes. I think I was talking about that one time in one video. Remember bubblegum cigarettes? The motherfucker you only get one powder, you hit it one time, the powder would blow once, that was it. Shit, we were so crazy. We used to just chew them with the paper on it. We didn't even give a fuck. But think about how fucked up that was. They were promoting cigarettes to little kids. I don't know if y'all remember that, but they did. So I'm sure some of you, again, if you're my age or older, you know what bubblegum cigarettes are. They were basically, they would mimic all the major cigarette brands that were out. It looked like a pack of cigarettes, literally. And they'd be these little sticks of gum that looked like cigarettes wrapped in white paper. And you basically just, the first time you pull it out the pack, it had white powder on it. You would just, one time, that's all. It was gum. They were bubblegum cigarettes, right? Bazooka Joe. Remember the 3-cent joints? They had the 5 and the 3-cent joints and the great ones. And man, shit. You get creative, boy. If you had $1 and you went down to the corner spot, you get creative with that motherfucker, man. I remember going down to trying to make that dollar stretch. I'm gonna get 2 Bazooka Joes. Shit, some of the corner stores had the pretzel rods. Remember in the glass containers to sell them for 5 cents? The pretzel rods. So I go down to the corner store. I try to get me some Bazooka Joe. Try to get me a pretzel rod. Yeah, I make that dollar stretch, boy. That's what we did. But see, again, it's the human experience, the fun and the joy. It was that. Taking that $1 and you excited to what can I get with this shit? Let me go down there. That was a big thing. What about the old? See, one of the corner stores we had called Jerry's. I don't know if y'all remember the real egg class, right? See, I'm down now. I'm going to fuck back. You're taking me back. And still to this day, every time I go to New York, I always go to Jerry's and get a chocolate egg clair, the real ones, not the fake ass shit that they got out now. I don't know, it's the syrup or how they make it, but I remember that feeling of just sitting at the, this particular corner store had a counter you could sit at. That's Jerry's was big. It wasn't like your regular average, like bodega type shit you walked in. What about Woolworth, man? Shit, I remember back then Woolworth. Remember the lunch counter at Woolworth? Shit, they used to have, I think it was $2.99 or $2.59. That was for a hamburger, fries, and a soda. You know what it was like that? We used to go to the movie theater across the street, and the big thing was leaving the movie theater. Yo, we're gonna go to Woolworths and get a hamburger. It was like a big thing to us as kids, 13 years old, 14 years old. That's what we did, man. You know what I mean? Shit, that's some fun shit, man. But now your corner store, you sparking it now. Beehive says, I remember, Kendrick, you 46. You still old as fuck like us, man. So you in the 47 crew, brother. Beehive types in, I remember my first pair of Feli sneakers when I was in elementary. I thought I was a shit. I remember the Feli joints. Now you're going to maybe go throw back. Remember Feli's, Sauconys, Old British Knights. Remember the BK Knights? Shit. When them joints first came out, I used to like Sauconys. And if you know, some of you might know what those are. I don't know. I always thought like the high top Sauconys. That was another, when the Reeboks first came out. The first Air Jordans, the black and red ones. 86 was when the first ones came out. That's when sneakers, I think, started to go to a whole nother level. That's a whole nother story. Chuck Taylors, the Pro Keds. Remember the Pro Ked joints? Yeah, obviously the Converse. The Converse is a big thing now. They brought those back in style. But Pro Keds. I remember getting my first pair of Pro Keds at Sneaker Circus in New York. You know what I'm saying? I mean, shit. That was another thing back then. Just being a sneakerhead, man, that was a big thing. Remember remember you had to carry the toothpaste with the toothbrush. Oh shit, my joints got scuffed. I used to be psychotic with the sneakers, man. I used to be a freak with them, man. If I had a snuck on, the old throwback white on white Nikes. I used to have a pair of those. I had the white Nikes with the blue. The first ones that came out with the blue, white and blue with the Nike and the blue symbol, but the white on white classic throwback joints, all that shit, man. That used to be the shit back in the day, man. That sneaker shopping was like record shopping. You know what I mean? Then as you got older, when you had a little dough, you might have been doing some little shit on the side. But then when you got older and you had some dough in your early teens, I remember going down to Jamaica Avenue with like $100, $200. Man, you felt like a superstar. Remember the three-finger rings? Remember that with your name or your nameplate? You know what I mean? I had the nameplate with the earring with the name. That was the shit back then, man. You go down to the Coliseum on Jamaica Avenue, get your nameplate made. Mike, in big bubble letters and shit. Remember you used to take your sneakers. Remember the checkerboard when you used to lace them up? Dude, I could never do that shit. I struggle with that. I used to have to get my boy to do them. Remember you used to, I don't get a lace. I want to do checkerboards. Shit we used to do. We used to have fucking fun. And then during that time, you had different fashion. First, it was the sheepskins with the gazelles and the raccoon hats. Then it was the Kangos and the leather bombers, the goose downs. You had the 3/4 joints. You had the regular goose downs. Then in the early 90s, it was the Sherlins, man. I mean, that was the shit we had. Now, it went from that shit, style. Now these motherfuckers, man, you got feminine thugs wearing these straight-legged, tight-ass, the stupidest shit to me is some dude with his jeans tight as hell and his pants hanging off his ass. What the fuck is that? It went from style and flavor to just straight up cornball whackness. Now you got a society that's promoting feminism in the men. They're making them, shit you see now, it just, look, all right, yeah, of course. I come from a different generation, but it's crazy the shit that they got these dudes, or how they in the culture they dressing now. But shit, back remember the shit, the MCM sweatsuits. Remember the Adidas sweatsuits. Feli had the fly sweatsuits back in the day. LA Gear, which I don't know if some of y'all know, LA Gear is Skechers. It's the same company. I don't know if some of y'all know that. How I found that out is actually the owner of Skechers lives down here in South Florida. We went on it was just a one-day cruise, me and my wife and my son last year, and they give you a tour up and down the intercoastal. And the guy that owns Skechers, which formerly used to be LA Gear, has a big mansion on the water here. And, you know, when the tour guide was giving the tour, he was like, that's the owner of Skechers, formerly known as LA Gear. So Skechers used to be LA Gear. I used to have an LA Gear sweatsuit. I don't know if you remember the LA Gear sneakers, but they were popular back then. Skechers is what I use now to exercise, and I think they're the most comfortable exercising shoes. Shit, I'd be here all day talking about this shit because now you're taking me back during them times, man. Shit, they were not like it, man. So yeah, sneakers. That's a whole nother porthole and dimension you open in. All right. Yeah, shout out Gold Dust says shout out to all the 47 pluses. Mujahid said, yeah, you had EBT like 5 years ago being laid off from factory work. Yep. Breathtaking 83 says, I miss the way things were back in the days. Ain't nothing like it. Some people this day and age don't appreciate shit. I agree with you 100%. Man, like I say, yeah, people don't know. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of crazy shit going on in the world. Don't get me wrong. But this younger generation don't know how good and easy they got it. Easy in the sense of all the things that they have access to. Now, with all this social media and technology, and you know, there's things they're dealing with that we didn't deal with, cyberbullying. Because now these kids, you know, they bring their problems home with them because they on their phone now, and it connects them to the shit they got going on in school and outside of the house. Remember, when we came home in the house, we didn't bring that shit in with us. Shit, I remember in my house, this is the real. I mean, this is how we grew up. We had one TV in the fucking house, in the living room. Now, later down the road, my parents got a small 13-inch black and white. They added a little small 13-inch black and white on this little TV stand in their bedroom, but that was later. But back then, the whole family sat down and watched TV. Now, this is what I say these motherfuckers are good. Now, motherfuckers got TVs in their room. They got tablets. They got cell phones. So whatever they want to watch is at their fingers and their tip. They can come on YouTube. They got all these apps they can access, movies. Shit, back then, now I'm talking about, this was a regular basis in my house growing up. First of all, you came home. You couldn't do shit until you did your homework, right? And there was always at 5:59 p.m., if you had Channel 5 in New York, that message one that would come on every night. It's 5:59 p.m. Did you do your homework today? Like, oh, fuck. First of all, we couldn't do shit. We had to come home. Before we ate dinner, homework had to be done before dinner. Then we all sat down at the table and ate dinner. None of this shit, I'm going to eat in the living room. I'm going to eat in my room. I'm going to eat over there. I'm going to sit over here and eat at TV. No. That's not how we grew up. My house, TV was off, and everybody had to sit at the motherfucking table. And then there was a dishwashing rotation between me and my three sisters. After it was over, we knew whose night it was to do dishes. We wouldn't know who's cleaning up shit. But we all sat down and ate. And then at night, if we watched TV, well, of course, my father dictated that. But everybody sat in the living room and watched TV, right? One fucking TV. We didn't have no TVs in our bedrooms. You went to your room, there was no TV. You might have a radio or a stereo. You ain't had no fucking TV. You know, that's just the way it was. And I remember shit. I think it was 1984 or 85 when we got our first VCR. Oh, shit, boy. We were coming up. You can tell us shit. We thought we had a little money. Okay, JVC. Remember the JVC, the top load? It had the big color buttons in the front, the play and stop button. The play button was big green color, red was stop, the big buttons. And then it was the top load, not the side load. We had the top load. You know what? I remember going down to on the weekends when my father was off. That's when these VHS tapes were big. You know, it was the feeling of going into the video store and walking through the video store and picking out a movie. Remember that shit? The experience of it. Now it's like, yeah, I can just go on my phone. I could download something. I got my Fire Stick. Back then, again, it was the experience of getting in the car, getting excited about getting to the video store. parking the car, getting out of the car with my father, walking in the video store and just looking at it, like walking like, holy shit, look at all these movies. As a kid, it's like fucking like a whole nother universe, man. Them days is gone. That inner reaction is gone. And this is what's done it. This is the fucking virtual reality that people live by now, you know, because they don't know how to utilize it. But yeah. What else we got? Peace, Sister Oni. So you got here a little late. Oh, man, hold on. Shit skipped. Man, we got a lot of comments here. All right, cool. Oh, shit. I see some comments here. All right, damn, hold on. Let me find my spot, people. It skipped. I'm scrolling back up. I'll find it. Damn. I may not be able to get through all this shit. Wow. I'm glad you guys are commenting and participating this evening. I might have to speed through some of these, but let's see what we got. Okay, what else we got? Okay, here we go. All right, Yvette types in, yes, I have to be patient. I had to take a step back to see what I was doing wrong, but I realized that I have to be patient and consistent. True indeed. Peace to Sister Regina Green. Ninth Disciple, if you came in late, again, it's the Asetian Bible that we were going over earlier by Juan Marquez. And as you see in the chat, and as I mentioned, do not go on Amazon to get it. You're going to get robbed. It's over $100 on Amazon. Barnes & Noble, $25. That's the place you want to go to get that. For the sake of time, Nightmare 706, going to the archives of my channel. I have videos suggesting different books, different places you can start. Again, for the sake of time, that would we'd be going through a lot. But when you get some time, you'll see certain titles of videos, and throughout different videos, book suggestions, direction. Obviously, you know, you want to, you know, put your own flair on it, and whatever you decide to work with on this path. Obviously, you want to put some input in it, but good books to start with. For an example, I always recommend people to read the Kabbalion by the Three Initiates, or the Seven Principles of Tahuti. That's good foundational work. If you go through the videos, there's many different books I always suggest to throw out there. And I would start by getting some of the books and see what topics of interest, you know, get your attention, and start to explore and work from there. But again, if you go through the archives, I go into a little bit more in depth. All right. Yeah, Yvette, again, Yvette types, I'm getting a book from Barnes & Noble. Amazon's too much. Yeah, it is. And that's why I said don't even bother going on Amazon. And again, I'm telling you that because when Brother Duma brought the book to my attention, he made that clear. And I had already bought the book, but I had just checked after I had got it on Barnes & Noble just to see. And I saw that shit. I was like, wow, they really trying to fucking clip people. Okay. Oni types in. Oh, no, that's Mandy Amy Rodriguez. You stay dropping knowledge. I try my best. Mama Muerte types in. Yeah, Amy, like I said earlier, I know you up. When you're down this way, hit us up. I know you've been a minute, but hit us up when you're down this way. Mama Muerte types in, yeah, but welfare should not be a lifestyle. It's a form of help to get you started. Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, when we're talking about the welfare, you know, no doubt that shouldn't be nobody's goal to stay on it. Look, I'm in all for it. I do, you know, obviously then you got the abusers of it. Let's keep it real. You got more, you know, the people that hustled on it for years, you know. So yeah, by all means, especially on it, it should never be anybody's goal, you know, to be on it. It should just, as you said, man, it should be a starting point to get you some type of help to get you on your feet, no doubt. You know, back then, obviously during them times, we wasn't, you know, where we are now in this state of spirituality. But like I said, when I was bringing all that up with my mom, I just realized the shit that, not just my mom, my dad, the shit that they did, my mother and father, it was just about getting it done. You know what I mean? And they both worked, constantly worked, were never unemployed. You know what I mean? And one thing I learned from them is how to survive. You know what I mean? To survive. I'm, getting it done at all costs. That's how I watched my mother, my father too, busted his ass his whole life working. He don't even have a 10th grade education. Dropped out of high school in 10th grade because he was forced to, because he had to work to help his parents pay the bills. Because when they came to this country, my grandfather, my father's father, he refurbished brass in New Jersey. That's what he did. He refurbished brass. When you came over as an immigrant, you had to take whatever job you can get. And that's what he did. And my grandmother, she stayed at home. She didn't work. You know what I mean? So my father and his three brothers, none of them had a high school, don't even have a high school diploma. Matter of fact, I'm the only one in my whole family that graduated high school. My three sisters didn't even graduate high school. They all dropped out. My father, me and my mother, let me repeat, my mother was very smart. My mother finished high school early. She graduated in 11th grade. And same thing with college. She finished 4 years of college in 3 years. So she was the one that had the education. But everybody else in the family didn't even finish high school. My father, like I said, my father dropped out in the middle of 10th grade because he had to work and get a job just to help pay bills. That's how it was back then. You know what I mean? And he grew up Bedford-Stuyvesant in Brooklyn. And during them times, that's a whole nother story, man. Because at that time in Bedford-Stuyvesant, it's different now. That's when everybody was coming over from everywhere. You had neighborhoods back then where you had Latinos, Blacks, Italians, and they were all living in the same area. It might have been different sides of the street, but it wasn't as, how you go to sections of New York now where you have sections that are predominantly this ethnicity. It wasn't really like that back then. People just came over and shit. My father grew up on the same block with Little Anthony and the Imperials, if you know who that is. They did a movie on that. My father actually went to school with him and actually knew him very well. That's how it was during them times. Now, shit, even if you live in New York now, look how you go to Bedford Avenue, you go to different places in Brooklyn. Shit, you go right where Oni lives, right by the Barclays Center, Fulton Avenue. All that shit has changed in the last 10, 15 years. It's becoming, they're moving all the natives out and they're bringing in all these yuppies. I was blown away going there the last time where I don't ever remember seeing that many white people on Fulton Avenue. And you got white folks taking over all these quote unquote at one time impoverished areas, and they're building these high rises and these condominiums and these Harlem. You go up to Harlem now. You go up to 125th Street outside of the section that we're all familiar with, where quote unquote all the black consciousness is by the Apollo Theater and 8th Avenue. All you got to do is go slightly a few blocks up from that, and even there you're seeing white people on Harlem now, and you're seeing all these yuppie bars going up. This is all over New York City now. It's changed so drastically in the last 15 to 20 years. Even places like Red Hook, all those places, they're not like they used to be. Quote unquote, a lot of these areas that we knew as being bad areas, they moving. That's what they doing. And I even see them doing that here in South Florida. Some of the areas that used to be bad here, that from what people had told me and from what I seen from first coming here, when my father moved here, they doing the same thing. They building high rises, pushing the natives out. And it's funny how when they got a little money, they clean shit up and they make it look beautiful. But when they got people there, they don't give a fuck about it. They just let it go to shit. They just don't care. But yeah, that's what's going on today, man. That's what it is. All right, what else we got? OT says, I'm not sure if I understand your question, but maybe you have more down. How did the cross turn into a torture device? Now, I'm not sure if you're referring to back then in different societies, crucifixion, which doesn't originate with just a quote unquote the Jesus and Christianity story. They used the cross and crucifixion as a form of torture. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, but maybe you type something in further down. So I don't want to go in and elaborate on it. So maybe you could type in maybe down the line, torture device in relation to what? Are you referring to something specifically? I'm not sure. All right, what else we got? Good. I'm glad to hear only I've overcome. Yeah, that was one of the things we discussed when I was there. The fear of sleeping in the dark. When somebody has that fear, and that's people have some type of, or I've known people that have some type of issue with that. The fear comes from connecting with your real self. Because when you're in that darkness and that silence, all of your real emotions start coming to the surface. Your real thoughts start to manifest, quote unquote, your real self. So the fear is when you feel that presence sometimes of that energy coming on, you could sometimes mistaken that for external, like when we're younger or kids, the boogeyman in the room, right? We think there's some boogeyman going to get us if we sleep in the dark. Really, that boogeyman that we're fearing that's going to come get us is our true self, right? Because when you're in that darkness and silence, the only thing that's there is you, and what tends to come out, if you want to say your inner being, your personal demon, the real you, it starts to come to the surface. And some people don't know how to put that feeling into perspective. Like, what is this I'm experiencing? And sometimes it manifests as fear. So that's really all it is. And once you get accustomed now, to the point I'm bothered if I sleep with any light. I just like to be in silence and darkness, because I found out that's when you get your most powerful or your most invigorating sleep. You understand? So yeah, good that you conquered that. Gold Dust Prince. I don't know if you're talking about the artist Prince, but 4 Seasons. Yeah. El Sheba segment. I was born in the 70s. Yep. Love all types of music. Me too. Chicago and Journey. Forgot about them when we were talking about classic rock. Yes. Those are 2 groups, Chicago and Journey. They were definitely pumped out some classics back in the day. Hall and Oates. Oh shit. Now you get more into the pop. Yeah. Let's be real. We all Hall and Oates on the slide. We all back in the day, dudes back then, anyone, or Culture Club, Boy George. Even though you may not, or people back then might have, discriminated against him because of his style and the way he looked. But Culture Club, he was a talented singer, man. Them first 2 albums was the shit. I don't give a fuck. And I'll be the first 2, I ain't got no problem in it. Culture Club put out some good music. I mean, that was considered Hall and Oates. That was more pop. But Hall and Oates, man, I had some of this shit on vinyl. I ain't going front. I went to the record store and got Man Eater, Private Eyes, the second album. That was my joint. The first one that was just called Daryl Hall and John Oates, that had Sarah Smile on it. And later down the road, After 7 did a remake of that. To me, that's the best remake I ever heard of it. That came out a few years back. But that first album was classic. And then first 3 Hall and Oates albums, I mean, even some of the ones after that, but to me, the first 3 joints were classic. And even though they were pop, they had a little bit of a soul feel to them. They were definitely influenced by R&B music. You could tell in their music, especially Daryl Hall. But that Man Eater album, that was a fucking classic. H2O, it was called. Man Eater was one of the songs on it. But that album was classic, man. Yeah, let's keep it real, man. We listened to that shit back in the day. You know what I mean? But that was considered pop. That was top 40, we called it back then. That's the shit they used to play on the radio. Because as I mentioned before, I think I mentioned you got to remember back then, you didn't hear hip hop on the radio every day like you do now. Back then, when we grew up in New York, it was the Rap Attack on the weekends. You had DJ Red Alert. You had Mr. Magic, Marley Marl, BLS, and Kiss FM. Every Friday and Saturday night, they had a Rap Attack or a hip hop show. And that's the only time they played rap on the radio. So you had to wait to the weekend to get some hip hop. That's how it was back in the 80s and, early 90s. And probably in the mid 90s when you started to hear a lot more hip hop on the radio. But back then, it wasn't, you didn't hear hip hop mainstream like you do. Well, I wouldn't even, in my opinion, I don't even consider half of this shit that they call rap music or hip hop music, but that's just how it was back then. All right, what else we got? Black Sabbath, yeah. Forgot about Black Sabbath. Yeah, a lot of us were rock fans on the slide. We didn't want, people to know that how you listen to that shit. But there was a lot of people listening to that shit on the slide, man. Keep it real. Def Leppard. Remember some of the early metal bands? Not the shit now, like the early, like Def Leppard. What we had, Motley Crue, Rat. Remember fucking Rat? Twisted Sister. I actually met D. Snyder one time. He's actually from Long Island. I met him one time in New York. Remember We're Not Gonna Take It? That was one of the first videos on MTV. One of the very first videos they ever aired. We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister. Come on, man. You know that shit. Stop fronting, man. People be fronting. Don't fucking front. Earth, Wind, and Fire, Serpentine. Yeah, their album covers were heavy when you look at some of their album covers. Yeah, I was a big Earth, Wind, and Fire. I love their music. Still listen to it. Commodores. I love old Lionel Richie. Fucking Commodores, classic. That was something my pops would listen to a lot. Them Commodore joints, I'll pop them on a lot. Like when you go back doing that, like Commodores, the OJs, Teddy Pendergrass, even Teddy with Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, McFadden and Whitehead, shit, all those fucking groups, Stylistics, Blue Magic. Blue Magic's one of my favorite. The Shy Lights, the Delphonics, the Dramatics. You know, back then, all those aforementioned groups, they were all kind of competing with each other. They had similar style, the Stylistics. It seemed like all of them, you know, they had that one guy with the high-pitched soprano voice, you know, hit the high notes all the time. But, yeah, the Floaters, shit. I was just listening to the Floaters float on. Man, I'd be here all day talking about that shit. Breathtaking 83 times. Yes, that's when music really had meaning and you could relate to the lyrics and apply it accordingly to your life. I agree. Ralph Farrow Sanders. Yep. Gilberto Martinez. If you're looking for an album that can transport you into a meditative state, check out a band called The Bell Witch. Okay, I'll do that. They have an album called Mirror Reaper. That's basically 186-minute song. Gilberto, do you know if that's on Amazon app? But I'll check. I'm gonna Google it or find out. I don't know if you something. Where did you access it? Is what I'm asking. He goes on to say it's dark and atmospheric, and the story behind the song is really haunting in a way. I use it as a soundtrack for some of my work. It's cool. Oh shit, Fleetwood Mac. Mama Muerte. I forgot about that one. Shit, Fleetwood Mac. That's classic too. Just like the one way. Let me stop. And then Mama Muerte types in all the oldies, classic rock, soft rock, 50s, 80s. Yeah. La Madama. Yeah, it's a gypsy spirit. I actually have a La Madama with Felipe Negro on my altar. And if you ever see those two images, you might have seen them in Botanicas. You'll see it as an old, dark, black-skinned man sitting in a chair. And then with an old, elderly, dark-skinned black woman. They usually sell them in a set. They actually represent even those Congo energies. But I have a La Madama and Felipe Negro on my altar. I work with those spirits. Along with your boy, Papa Neves, Papa Candelo, right? That's that group of spirits in that pantheon. La Madama, Felipe Negro, Papa Candelo. There's some powerful spirits when you really start accessing them and working with them on that path. I've been working with them now probably, I'm going to say since 2002, 2001, 2002 consistently. And Papa Candelo is no joke. Trust me when I tell you, it's raw fire de Congo. And they're raw and fire. And I personally, if you ever seen, I've showed some images of it in some videos. I have a tall one. I mean, that Congo spirit, I've fed that. I mean, I've done so much work with that. That's straight raw Congo spirit. But the Congo spirits, that's a conversation for a whole nother time. All right, let me see. Just looking for questions. I'm going to skip some of the personal comments. Just so I could get through it. KL Sheba segment says, as soon as I started an altar the next day, as I was waking up, I looked at my chair and the figure of a woman in black with a black hat was sitting there. And I said, okay. Yeah, when you're working with them Katana and Gypsy spirits, man, that's a whole nother shit, man. Trust me. Breathtaking 83 touching. Hell yeah, that's the experience for real that made shit worth the wait. And that's the key. It was that all those things that we were talking about earlier and just now, it was just that, building up, the momentum of it, the waiting, oh man, this is not like it. That's the human element. That what we didn't realize when those things were happening that we lack now, that was a rejuvenating thing to us. It rejuvenated us. It gave us life. It gave us energy. It altered our frequencies and vibrations. It shifted them to a whole nother aspect where we were able to act off of those emotions by way of that in a reaction. Now, I mean, I love Amazon. Don't get me wrong. It's so convenient. It's a beautiful thing. But even with Amazon, you kind of lose, you can't they shop picking things up, touching them. Don't get me wrong. I love Amazon because now I do most of my shopping on Amazon because of the price and, but yeah, man, it's just that whole, waiting, that experience. Goldust says, hated meeting boys in the record store. Yes, yeah, that was another thing. Yeah, I was guilty of trying to kick at the females. Anytime I went to a record store, I always had some type of avenue in, with a female. Like, hey, what you in? What you looking for? What you feeling? That was just a doorway, gateway, or that was where you would always. I mean, you know how many females we met at record stores, invited them to our weekend parties? Oh man, forget it. Yeah, we in here, because my boy Joy, he would DJ, he'd be like, yeah, we in here getting records, why don't you come and party? We're having a party this weekend. You know how we did it, man. But it was fun, man. It was just, oh man, I can't even explain it, man. That was another thing. We'd be looking to go down to the record store looking for females, man. That's what we did as young guys, man. That's what we did. You know what I mean? Yeah, the vinyl, nothing like it, Shaquana. Nothing like a good vinyl record, man. Again, like I said, the smell of it. Remember I used to have the plastic on it? You used to take your key or something, just slice the middle and then peel the plastic off. Some of them I didn't take the plastic off. But yeah, man, that whole, nothing like it, man. That whole experience. Oh shit, Oni's giving some of the throwback. The boss, the Kenwood. Remember the Kenwoods? Oh shit, the Techniques. That was the shit, man. The boss, but I remember the Kenwood. I remember the Techniques. That was it. You didn't have a Technique turntable. You wasn't a real DJ back in the day. It's changed. Kenwood speakers. He had Tan Rich house parties, barbecues, playing cards, domino, all that shit, man. It's what we did. We stayed busy and we had fun. Dominoes. Let's play bones, man. Shit. Summertime was a whole nother experience, man. When we had the backyard parties in the summertime, we'd get the kegs. Fucking get the big ass kegs, man. Let's get some, plastic cups and maybe drinking all night, just chilling. All right, what else we got? Okay. Papa Nieves at 9:30. I'm not sure if you're still in here. Peace, brother. I will give you a call soon. All right, let's skip some of the personal comment. Yeah. Oh shit! Yeah, remember when? Yeah, we thought that was some serious technology back in the day. Remember that shit? Goldust, the cordless phones. Remember that shit? I remember if you left that shit off the charger, and the first cordless phones sucked. They always die out if you left them off the charger for too long. The motherfuckers would just die on you and shit. But oh yeah. When the cordless phones first came out, man, yeah, you thought you was the shit. Cordless phones, I forgot about them. Yeah, phone booths. Yeah, the paper. I don't even know if they even exist anymore. You don't even see pay phones no more with cell phones. They became obsolete. Remember, I would start using payphone. We had the pager. I had the first Motorola, that black pager that came out. It keep you a pocket full of dimes. Because back then, remember, the payphones were first before they were. I know they were a dime when I was using them back then with the pages. Then they went up to 20 cents, then 25 cents. I don't know what they stopped at, but I remember started using them when they were a dime, 10 cents. Make a phone call. It's crazy. What else we got? Yeah, El Sheba said, I purposely like saying sometimes you gotta leave your phone. You know what's funny you say that? I will do that sometimes just to not be bothered and disturbed because you don't realize sometimes how much that takes up of you, you know, and how much of a hindrance it can be. And I mean, granted, it's got its positives, but it's funny. Like if I'm going out to dinner with family, I don't even take that shit. I just leave it at home because I just don't want to be distracted with no bullshit. So it's true. So true. Yeah, $900. It's crazy. They charge for these phones now $1,000 pretty much. Yeah. Only see you're blocking somebody with the phone back then. You took the rotary off the hook. That's it. That's pretty much what you did. And when we ain't got not all this shit that we got now. You know what I mean? It wasn't all this. You know, you could block somebody like you can on your cell phone. Yeah, back then you just had to keep the phone off the hook. And it was one line. Remember this shit back in the day? Because remember, most people. I mean, it was called. People got the double lines later. It was rare. Man, when you was trying to call a motherfucker's house for like 30 minutes, I remember trying to call one of my boys because we was trying to make plans for the weekend, and maybe you just calling constantly busy for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. You finally get through. You're like, yo, what the fuck, man? I've been trying to call you for like, yo, my mom was on the phone, man. She's been talking on the phone for the last 40 minutes. Remember that shit? Because if somebody was on the phone, you couldn't get through till they got off the phone. I know we all went through that trying to contact a friend or somebody. We just kept dialing. There wasn't no redial. If you had the rotary, like shit. You know, you have to dial the whole fucking number again. Beep, beep, beep. Hang up. Wait a minute or two. Pick up. You had to dial all numbers again. Wasn't no fucking redial button. That didn't come till after with the push button phones. But that's how it was back then. If somebody was on the phone, you calling somebody's house, they were on the phone. You just got a busy signal. You couldn't get through till they got off the phone. That's how it was back then. All right, what else we got? Yeah, yeah, that's right. She's exactly 100% right. The food stamps, the $1 food stamps were brown. That's correct. I remember that. The $5 joints were purple and the 10s were green. That's true. I forgot about that. Now that you say it, yeah. She was saying that'd be bad when I didn't have my paper money. True indeed. Yup, kickballs, man. Kickball was the shit back in the day. That's what we did, man. I used to love playing kickball. Yeah, when I was talking about the bike with the paper out, that's what it was called, the truck. Right? It had the banana seat, the handlebars, you had the basket in the front, and you had the two side baskets. Man, them Sunday papers was a motherfucker, man. Now, how many times in the snow you couldn't put it on the kickstand because the weight was too heavy with all the Sunday papers. So you'd have to lean it up against, a stoop or on a tree or something, because if you didn't lean it the right way, the Sunday papers, boy, as a kid, you said, man, and bad weather conditions. I remember, man, I used to go out there, but you had a paper out back in the day. You went out there, rain, sunshine, rain, snow, it didn't matter. You had to go out there and deliver them fucking papers. You know what I mean? That's what we did. I mean, I had 2 paper routes, man. That's what I did. I started a paper route 7th, 8th grade and did a paper route all up to all the way through. Going into my senior years when I stopped doing paper routes. I might have been 11th grade, end of 11th grade. But I did paper routes for years. That's how I hustled my money as a little kid. You know what I mean? When I literally tell you I had to be at school at 8 o'clock, well, actually 7:50, 10 minutes to 8, because I always remember that's what time my high school started. Don't ask me why. I would have to, when I tell you I did it for almost 4 years, I had to get up every morning before school. Before school, people, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, taking about 45 minutes to an hour to run around. I do a paper route before I went to school. These kids, try to get a kid to do some shit like that in 2018. The motherfuckers don't even want to get up, let alone, Yeah, what else we got? Hot peas and butter. Remember that shit? Run, catch, and kiss. Yeah, hot peas and butter. Yep. Man, that's the shit back in the day. RCK. I forgot about hot peas and butter. Now you're bringing up some other shit. What about getting fireflies? Remember catching fireflies in the summertime? Get a little glass. Shit, we did to entertain ourselves, and we were happy with it. You know? Oh, shit, that must be some Virginia shit. The Red Hot Jelly Bean game in VA. You played it with a belt. I've heard of something similar. But yeah, I mean, and you'll notice each region had their own game. I noticed that when you talk with people, it seemed like each, even though VA is not really far from New York, but it seemed like people in the Northeast had their own things they did. People down south had their own flavor. People out on the West Coast and the Midwest, you see some similarities in a lot of these games we played, but it seemed like there was a little bit different flavor on each one of them. New York summer camps, yep. I never really went, to a full-blown summer camp, but I remember we had one called Tanglewood that was close with us. The summer camp. As soon as school went out, some of the kids went to summer camp, yep. I don't know I guess they still do that. I don't know. Oh, shit. Yeah, this I remember. And again, if I'm saying your name right, hopefully I'm butchered. I remember you were here. I think the other time, Srets won. I don't know if you're saying it. If you say it Srets or Surets won. He said, "Peace." He's 48. Here, the no frills sneakers. Do I remember? I don't know if you remember a pair of sneakers called Jocks, right? Some of you might remember this, JOX, right? And they used to be like bluish with 3 stripes. Well, the no frills sneakers that he's talking about, I remember they used to have, the Jocks with the extra stripe, the knockoff Adidas, and the bottoms of them joints were plastic. If you ever wore those shits on wet ground, oh my God. Yeah, man. We used to call them, skips. You know what I mean? And they used to keep them in the bin. They used to tie the shoe. I don't know if you remember. They had them they were in them kind of kickball looking bins, but they used to tie the shoelaces together. That's how they keep the pair together. They would tie both laces from both shoes together, and they'd all be piled up. Man, I remember that shit like it was yesterday, man. The sneakers, but I remember picking them joints up. The bottoms and things were literally plastic, man. And the supermarkets in New York, they used to have them. Seatown, Food Town, had a ShopRite and Pathmark were notorious for having them in there back in the day. With the kick, and they'd always be in the middle, like when you come in where the registers were, they were always in that middle section there somewhere. I remember that. I said always like kickballs or no frills sneakers, all that shit, man. Yep, getting a jump rope from the tell, man. That's some city shit. Yep. Oh shit. Only says I know a lot of my homegirls went missing during ring catching kids. Yeah, a lot of us went missing. You find a bush, get a little extracurricular activity in. Yeah, we did that as kids. That was a little thing, That's what we did back then, man. That's how we have fun. Jungle juice. Oh shit. That's right. RC, man. RC Cola was my shit back in the day. Little bottle joints. They're selling the little ones. I used to get the big ones when I had a little extra cash, but that was the cola I drank as a kid growing up. RC, the blue label, the R and the C on it. That was the joint. In the summertime, it was nothing like walking down to the deli and getting an ice cold RC Cola, man. Nothing like it on a hot 90-degree day. Shit, thinking about it now. But yeah, man, that's what we did. No frills veggies. Damn. Yeah, so I'm talking about the bubblegum cigarettes, penny candy. I forgot about that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, only 49. Yeah. Yeah, and we can outrun some of these teenagers. El Sheba sick met on an RCK game. Yes, she said some of her homegirls used to be poof, be gone. Yeah. I remember as a boy, trying to get a few extra kisses in, it's what we did, man. It was always one girl you was targeting anyway. You had your eyes on somebody. That's what we did, man. Little games we played, man. It was fun. Pixie sticks. Holy shit. My sisters loved pixie sticks. Damn, that's some throwback shit right there. Totally forgot about that. My sisters loved pixie sticks. I sucked at that. Yep, I tell you, Woolworth was my store too. Remember the Woolworth? Woolworth was like, if you remember, Woolworth was like a small Walmart is today. Remember Woolworth? Some of y'all gonna remember this. Remember Woolworth had the section where they had the fish and the hamsters. They used to sell fish in there, the hamsters. They had a toy section. It was literally, it would be like your modern day Walmart. That's what Woolworth was back in the day. You know how many hamsters I bought from Woolworth? Hamster cave, remember that? Fucking crazy. That was my shit too. I remember my mother used to love Woolworth. We used to walk to it because, I mean, where we lived in New York, it was probably about 8-block walk, 9-block walk. My mother used to love to walk to Woolworth on the weekends. She used to shop there all the time. Ben Franklin store, yep. McCrory's waffle. Damn, you going back now. Shit. For some reason, I read that and I thought of Chicken Delight. I don't know why the fuck that came to my head. We had a Chicken Delight right underneath where the train used to run by. And let me tell you something, man. There's still a few of them around New York, mainly out on Long Island now. There's a couple. It's not the same. But, man, let me tell you something, man. That goddamn Chicken Delight, their chicken and fries, to this day, I ain't never tasted nothing like it. That Chicken Delight was off the fucking chain, man. Don't ask me why that shit just came to my head. Dada sneakers, wow. Penny loafers. Diodora was a big deal in my school. I always wanted them, wasn't able to get them. Yeah, the Diodora was big back then. Eastland shoes, damn. Name belt, yeah. Forgot about the name. I think I had one time. I can't remember. But I remember the name belts. That was the big thing. Wearing with your striped leaves. Oh, shit, you guys' name. Only remember a lot of those with the changing color piece on the damn. That's going back. Rabbit coats. Suede Pumas. How can we forget about the suede Pumas? Shit. I owned a couple different colors in the suede Pumas. They were the joints. At least I had those sneakers too one time. Saucony was my shits though. That was my shits. The checkerboard, yep. I can never do it, man. The checkerboard lacing, I tried. I just couldn't get it. They had to get the fat laces, though. I was good doing the fat laces on the outside, Man, we were psychotic with our sneakers. Between the laces and the sneakers, forget it. And then remember, it had to match your breakdancing crew. I was in USR, United Supersonic Rockers. Breakdancing name was Flash. Our colors were royal purple and white. And remember, you used to have we used to wear like what they call the baseball shirts with the colored sleeves. The sleeves were purple. Center of it was white, and then you had your crew name on the back and your name that you used. So that was our joint. Then we had the parachute. Remember the parachute jackets and the parachute pants. So, and that was in the colors of your crew. So you wore the parachute pants. When you took off your parachute your top, you had your crew shirt on underneath. You had your fucking. That's what we did back then, man. And I remember during that period, shit. I'm going to the early '80s to mid '80s now. Early '80s, mid '80s. We used to go to a place called Hot Skates in New York. Even though it was a skating rink, that's where we used to have like crew battles. Like, yeah, meet you at Hot Skates. We battle on this crew from such and such. But I tell you what, it kept us out of trouble for a while. A lot of the violence stopped. But yeah, man, that's some real shit, man. USR, United Supersonic Rockers. That's what we did, man. Oh shit! Stop playing gold. The coats, the tricolored black. I remember the tricolored black, brown, beige, and white. Yep. Checkerboard was the shit, but yeah, the coats too. The Bubble Goose, yeah, man. Let me tell you something about it. '86, when Run DMC came out with that Raising Hell album. If you go look at the cover, Raising Hell, both of them were wearing it on it. Everybody wanted a Bubble Goose, man. '86, and I remember I got mine. It was black with a panther collar. The smell of that, I can still smell it. Nothing like the smell of that leather, real leather, and the panther collar. Then you put on some cologne and get on the panther collar. You smell it, man. Oh man, it was nothing like that, man. And back then, I remember when the Bubble Goose Downs came out. I think I mentioned this in one video. This is 1986, and back then there was a lot of money. Them joints was $180 back then. That was a lot of money for '86. And I remember I was working in a supermarket in New York called Cross Island Fruits. I was working off the books for $3.35 an hour. And when that album came out, I was ninth grade, going into 10th. I remember it was a summer, going ninth grade, going into 10th. When the winter came the following, I had worked a few months and saved my money, and I got my Bubble Goose down out of the Coliseum on Jamaica Avenue. I remember going down there. And matter of fact, the same time I went down there and bought my Bubble Goose down, because the record store, when you came right upstairs, the record shop, was right upstairs. And Biz Markie had just come out with Make the Music, but and he's actually was from around the way. So I remember the same, because you just remember these things. I remember the same day I got the Bubble Goose down, I got Biz's album on vinyl. Man, you couldn't tell me shit, boy. Walking down up and down Jamaica Avenue, had new Bubble Goose down, got the new Biz joint. It's the weekend, getting ready to head back home. We're getting ready to do our thing. Man, it was not like it, man. I mean, that's what we did. It was not like it. I can't even put that shit into perspective, man. It was not like it. What else we got? You had the blue. Yeah, my boy George had a fly ass. It was like not a bright yellow. He had the black, like sand collar, black. It was like a sandy brown collar, and it was yellow. His shit was off the chain. He had the 3/4 joint. Man, he was, because he was a big muscular dude, but his shit, he had a 3/4 joint. He was one of those smooth dudes. Gazelles, but yeah, that was the shit back then. Shaquan, like saying you lost your jacket on Jamaica Avenue. Well, I remember now. I know they were snatching goose downs back in the day, the Bubble Goose, but I remember when the Sherlins came out, people were getting robbed for them motherfuckers on the regular. I watched the motherfucker in cold, broad daylight. I mean, literally, it was during the week, and this was on Delancey Street, Delancey and Essex. I remember I was coming off the J train. I come upstairs. I mean, I kid you not, broad daylight. They rolled up on this dude on a payphone, matter of fact, and stuck a toolie right, put it right in his back, told him to give it up. I mean, broad daylight, people walking by, like, it was nothing, like nothing was going on. But yeah, people got a little. And I remember when the Sherlins first came out, I'm gonna say they came out between 90 and 92. They were real big for 3 years, and them joints was shit. They was even more than the Goose Downs. Them joints was like 2 and change, sometimes more. And we used to go down to Orchard Street. And if you're familiar with that area, East New York, Orchard Street was the leather district, and it was, pretty much the Jews run that, but that's where we used to shop for leather back in the day. So we used to catch we used to get the train in Jamaica, we catch the J right there on Parsons and Archer, and we take the J all the way up to Delancey Street. And that's why if you go back and listen to that song by Dana Dane, Delancey Street, he talks about that. That was the spot back then. Well, still is to this day. People still go out. It's still the leather district and all that. I mean, it's a shopping district. It's all run by Hasidic Jews, though. That's the crazy thing. They selling all the shit they selling. They ain't wearing the shit, but they selling it. Yeah, it's a whole nother story for another day. But yeah, man. Oh, Shaquan, you from Queensbridge. Okay. So yeah, Yeah, I had some people over there, some friends. Yeah, that's one easy place to live. QB is probably the roughest part of Queens. What else we got? Oh, shit. Oh, you going back now. Oh, shit. Sergio Valente. Ooh, la. Sassoon. How come you didn't put the Sassoon jeans in there? Sergio Valente. Oh, my God. You're going back. Now you're going back early 80s. Remember the Capizios? That's now I'm really telling me. Remember the Capizio shoes? God damn. Yeah, that was done to each other. Yeah, you had Sergio's, Jordache, and Sassoon. Yep. Now, we used to go to a joint in Green Acres Mall, which is right there on the my mother used to take us there every year for school shopping. We used to go to it's right on the Nassau County, Queens border, Green Acres Mall, still there. If you live in that area, you know what I'm talking about, Green Acres. Alexander's. I don't know if you all remember Alexander's. Now going to stores. Let's go throwback stores that ain't around no more. Alexander's, Gimbals, A&S. Remember A&S, Abraham and Strauss? My auntie was a manager in the jewelry department there. Every year we would get jewelry in the women's perfume department. Every year we would get cologne for fucking Christmas. We knew what we were getting. But yeah, remember them stores? But Alexander's was the store that we used to go for school clothes. You know, crazy shit. What else we got? All right, trying to get through it. We're almost there, people. All right. Let's see where I left off here. Blockbuster video. Oh shit. Gilbert. Yeah. Oh shit. Now you're going TV shows. Oh shit. I used to get all my shit done quick so I could watch Good Times. All right, now let's talk about the shows as kids. Yeah, Good Times. One day at a time, right? Different Strokes. What other TV shows we had during that? The Jeffersons, right? I used to love watching the Jeffersons. Another show I used to like, don't ask me why, Soap. I used to love Soap. I used to think it was funny. Benny Hill. I used to come home and watch the Benny Hill show. Yeah, some funny ass shit, even if you watch the reruns of it. Shit. All them damn sitcoms back. But that now we talking about a time when there was actually TV shows. Everything's fucking reality, it's garbage. But yeah, the Jeffersons, that was the shit, man. Jeffersons was All in the Family. Because remember, that's where they spinned off the Jeffersons from All in the Family. Because remember, the first time you see the character of George and Louise is on One Day at a Time. All in the Family. So that's where they got the idea to spin it off. Because remember when he used to, if you look at some of the episodes, when George used to come over Archie Bunker's house, and the crazy shit. But that's when. But you know what? They were showing you back then how people really were. I just like All in the Family. Even though Archie Bunker was a racist, but I'm telling you, I had some funny ass shit. But man, that's when they had TV shows, man. They ain't got them shits no more, man. Shit don't exist. But damn, the Jeffersons, man. Yep. Sherman Hemsley. Remember they had a weed named after him back in the day in New York? You got that Sherman Hemsley? Got that Sherman Hemsley? God damn. Yeah, Good Times was the shit, though, man. Yep. Good Times. Yeah, they addressed some serious issues on there, though, man. Especially remember when JJ got shot. Yeah. Yo, I ain't gonna front. I used to watch Good Times for Thelma. I used to think Thelma was fine as hell, man. God damn. I only cared about watching Good Times for Thelma. I used to think she was like the sexiest thing ever walking. And I've seen her recently. She's appeared in some stuff. She still looks good right now. If you go pull her up, she still looks for her age. All right. Black and white TV with the antenna. Remember the UHF channels? 47. Because back then you only got, before there was cable, you got channel 2. This is New York anyway. 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. That was it. And then there was some UHF channels you could get if you had a good antenna. Betamax shit, you're going back. I'm gonna go through these a little quick because I know it's getting a little late. Blockbuster Video. Yeah, the Blockbuster joints came on the scene in the early 90s, but I remember the first, I'm talking about the mom and pop video stores we had in the neighborhood. The one we used to go to in New York, it wasn't like a big name one. It was just a mom and pop video store. But yeah, Blockbuster came on the scene in the early 90s. That's when the video store thing blew up and became like countrywide. You had some of them. There was another video store. There was a big chain. I can't think of it. I'm drawing a blank. They was on the scene for a while. But yeah, man, all that shit. Betamax shit. I got a throwback for you. Speaking of cable, remember WHT? Do your research on that one. I ain't even gonna say nothing. I'm gonna leave it there. Mayo sandwiches. I did the mayo and lettuce sandwiches. I was able to do that. But yeah, the mayo, I used to just put mayo on bread and lettuce and just eat mayo and lettuce. That was like a delicacy if you had some lettuce. But yeah, I remember that shit too. I Can't Go for that classic. Got that on my playlist. My favorite Hall & Oates song is One on One, though, on that H2O album. classic, because I remember the relationship I was in at that time, early 80s, you know, puppy love, you know, puppy, the fuck we know as kids back then. But one-on-one, classic Hall & Oates. Sarah Smile, yeah. And like I say, I like After Seven's remake of it. All right, what else we got? Yeah. Yeah. Yo, Kendrick, you are 100% right, brother. Everybody had Ski on the end of the name. Mike Ski, Joe Ski. That is the funniest shit. It's like, oh my God, you ain't lying. Because you know, I know who made that. There was a rapper that came out. I don't know if you remember the Pee Wee Herman, Joe Ski Love, but that he was like, and back during them times, in you know, in New York, when Joe Ski, yeah, everybody had Ski on their name. You're not front. Joe, Rob Ski. Everybody had Ski on their name. That is some funny ass shit and so true. Yeah, and that's true. Mujahid, a lot of the rock band music, Billy Squires, Big Beat, that's been used a bunch of times by many different artists. That you'll hear, that's a classic breakbeat. You'll hear that in a lot of mixes. Yeah, Billy Squires' Big Beat is one of the most popular samples that's been used. Yeah, Slave. Not too familiar. I have heard of them. Was exposed to some of their music, not a lot, but yes, I am familiar with them. Yeah, Jay-Z used it in 99 Problems, a Big Beat. Yeah, Slave is classic. Totally forgot about them. Wacky J 2012 says, that's my uncle. And then with the kegs, that's how I came up, big house parties. Yeah, that's what we did, man. And back then, even when we weren't of age, we always knew somebody. We'd just go down to the liquor store and give them the money, and we'd stand outside, and we always had a hookup. It was easier back then. It was so easy to get shit back then. Mudra said, that's why I got him dancing in the 80s, and ladies would always smile at you. Yep. But to see the dancing was so much similar then, you know. That's a whole other story. That's a whole other story. Yeah, I've done that too, El Sheba Sek, man. Because one of my boys lived like right up the street. I've done that a few times actually, where I was calling and the phone was busy, and either his sister or his mom was gabbing on the phone. I've done that too. He just walked down to their house and knocked on the door, like, "Yo, what the fuck, man? Been trying to call you for like an hour and shit." "Oh, my mom's on the phone. You know, you trying to make plans for the evening. Yo, what time we gonna meet at Hot Skate?" It was fun shit, though. It was kind of, again, it was nice not having everything so easily accessible, you know. Oh, it's just me. I guess it's just part of getting old. Yeah, I might have to change the title of this video. Yeah, we're almost done. We're going to wrap it up. I know it's getting late. Yeah, I'll see you Saturday on the online class, Sister Mandy. Jungle Juice in the carton. Damn. Yeah, Jungle Juice was pure sugar. You know where we used to get Jungle Juice at in New York? Gal's Farm. I don't know if you remember. We used to drive out to Long Island to a place called Gal's Farm. And we used to get chocolate milk out there, Jungle Juice. Yeah, that was a spot, man. What else we got? Move like one more $10 sneakers. Orange Julius. I don't know. Are they still around? Shit. They used to be big in the malls. I know Green Acres used to have one on Orange Julius. I don't even know if they're still around. The lightning bugs. That was the shit. We used to catch lightning bugs. Bottle caps. I can forget that. I don't even know what the hell that wax shit was. And I remember the bottle caps. You open, they had the liquid in it. I don't know what the fuck that liquid was. And I sure as hell don't know what that waxy had. And we used to chew on that shit. I don't know what the hell that shit was to this day. I think I'm going to have to research that. Yeah, cardboard. Yeah, that's what we used to do. Go on corners, open up a big piece of cardboard, to break dance, put the hat out, try to make a few bucks. Yeah. Shaquan McDowell typed in, we owned a store called Me Everything's Penny Candy, Liquor, and More. Wow. Yeah, Shaquana typed in, you took me home, shit, Florida. Yeah, it's a different problem. Now, I'm sure people that are born and raised in Florida, I'm sure they got their stories of childhood, but it's different. When you grew up in a certain, you know, culture and you know, neighborhood, that's what's a part of you. That's a part of you. That's never going to go away. That's something that's always going to be connected to you. It's never going to go away. And that's why when I read that statement from the book, all of those things are condensed and defined into what you are today. And there's no change in that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up soon. I'm trying to just get through the comment. Okay, here we go. Okay, Stride Right. Oh, I forgot about them. Hush Puppies. Oh, shit. Dapper Dan. Silver Spoons. Remember that show? Ricky Schroeder. God damn, that's a throwback by Amy. Silver Spoons. I remember, so I used to watch Silver Spoons and Different Strokes, that area there. What was the joint with Tootie and them? God, I can't think of it. Is it not Give Me a Break? Was it Give Me a Break? Nah, not Give Me a Break. Somebody refresh my memory. The story with Tootie and Joel and Mrs. Damn, can't think of the name of it. Maybe this Give Me a Break. I just can't remember. Mine's getting mush now. All right. Peace out. Yeah, Archie Bunker. He was a funny ass racist fucker, wasn't he? All right, we almost there, people. At the end, I'm determined to get through as much as I can of these comments. Yeah, sometimes the reason why I got to go up a few times a year, Shaquana, just to rejuvenate myself, because still pretty much majority of all my family, friends are still there. And again, literally sometimes I go up, it might be even 5 times, but at least 3 to 4 times a year I have to. Like I'm getting ready to go Thanksgiving week. I got to, man. You need sometimes that rejuvenation, and the rejuvenation is connecting to the essence of your real self. That's who you are. That's an aspect of yourself that defines you. I don't care who you are, where you're from. If you now again, that's if you predominantly lived in an area most of your life. Now it's different for somebody that's moved around constantly. So they become more of a free roaming type of energy. But when you pretty much live majority of your life in one place, that place literally becomes a part of you. And that's just a reality that you'll never be able to shake regardless. Heart to Heart, man. A-Team. Oh shit. That was a good. Taxi. That was another show I used to like. Taxi. A-Team. Yeah, that's one of the shows were real. Shit, I'll go back. No. Facts of Life. Thank you. That's the name of the show. I couldn't think of it. I don't know why. My mind drew a blank. Different Strokes. We talked about that. What's Happening? Yeah, I used to like the first. I didn't like What's Happening Now. I thought that was a little corny. But What's Happening was the shit. I used to love What's Happening, man. Yeah, Rerun. Remember popping and locking. All right, Rerun was known for the popping and locking. I think we at the end, people. All right. Oh shit. Surrett's one. Yo, that's throwback. Mayo and potato chip crumb sandwich. That's when you know your ass is hungry. Yo, that right there is called being creative, and I'm eating. That's classic right there. Totally forgot about the potato chip crumb sandwich with mayo. God damn. I know some people put ketchup on their potato chips. But yeah. Well, hot sauce. I know one of my boys did pour hot sauce on his potato chips. Mm-hmm. Facts of Life. All right. So yeah, that's it. I'm pretty much to the end. White Shadow. Oh shit. Remember White Shadow, the basketball show? Damn, yo, coming up with some good ones. You know what I think we're gonna do one night? We're gonna do a show. It's called a Throwback Show. We're just gonna fucking talk shit. It's not even gonna be about anything spiritual. It's just gonna be talking shit all night. But yeah, good stuff, people. All right. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I know it's real late. I know we went probably a little longer than we normally do. Again, if you need to contact me for any of the things I mentioned, the online classes, the upcoming event on the 30th. Or a spiritual consultation or reading, just look at the email in the description box of the videos, khnum19@gmail.com. Might see you guys on Friday. Don't know, probably not because of the class on Saturday. Again, Tuesday is the regular night. I definitely stay on my Tuesdays, 7:30. So look for a notification. We're going to go over the Bloodlines next week, but we didn't get into tonight. So I appreciate it. I actually enjoyed this. This was a little bit more fun. Well, it's always fun, but this was a little more clowning around, having some fun here towards the end. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Peace, and we will talk soon. All right.